You believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerdsNeed on Twitter and CBCaps on Instagram.
Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effect you've just heard comes from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? And as Roddykat likes to joke, I've got plenty to choose from.
Apparently also, which I forgot to mention to him before starting, that he's recording live location from the Continental's switchboard room.
That's right. Every once in a while, it's time for a virtual background.
Exactly. Which I just watched John Wick last night with a friend of mine who had never seen it before, and they enjoyed it.
John Wick?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Because I know you still are. You still haven't gotten to 3.
That's correct.
Gotcha. But you did a John Wick 1 rewatch. That's cool. I haven't done that in a while.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, you haven't seen this, and and I felt so bad because it was that one part in the beginning, with the catalyst of the situation,
Right?
and they were like, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. I wanted to say, don't get too attached. That messed him up. That messed her up.
That was pretty rough.
So,
I winced. I did not happen to, and we'll get back to the rest of the beginning of the show, folks. But I'll tell you that I was not one of those folks that went to see John Wick in the theaters.
Same.
But I tell you that a lot of people were passing that movie around via not the most legal means because of the word of mouth that the movie generated.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that, I definitely watched that a bunch of times through other means. And then when it finally came out on home video, I bought it. So they got my money.
Indeed, yeah, and I think when I bought it on Blu-ray, that's when I first watched it myself. So I was like, but yeah, that was it was fun watching that, seeing their reaction to the first one, and I don't know, I assume we're gonna do the next 2.
Good. I was about to say, I'm glad that you're getting to the watch for number 3.
Right, and yeah, just watching it with somebody who's never seen it before is kind of music. You kind of want to say so much, and you don't, and you're like, nope, shut up.
Like I was about to say, it's almost like being a Marvel fan watching these movies. Like, you don't necessarily want to be that person who's just like, well, in the comics, and in a similar vein, like, well, this is what's going to happen, and this is why it's happening. And guess what? There's actually a comic that's in canon that has John Wick in Mexico. And
I did actually mention that part.
Mm-hmm.
I did actually mention that part.
But anyway, moving on.
So but getting back to the meat of the meat of this. So yes, this is Comic Book Chronicles, and you can find said program on cspn.us.
Do it today.
That is the Coastal of the Podcast Network, if you did not know. And you could also find this here podcast on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page. And actually, speaking of virtual backgrounds, I totally forgot to change mine, but that's cool.
I didn't mention it. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. That's fine. It's Animal Crossing. I love my island, so it's all good. And also, you can find this program. Well, you can find us here every Thursday night, we usually start like 9:30 p.m., but lately we've been kind of getting a little late starts for some reason or another. But normally at 9:30 p.m. on either the Kliq Nation's YouTube channel or twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, all one word.
And I was gonna say that it's not. It's often not because we're logging on late, which is the
Right.
funniest.
Yeah. We usually
not-
Right, we usually like here and on and talking around 9 o'clock. It's just that we're doing other things. And shout out to the folks that are in the chat right now. Shout out to my boy Rock Jones, who's in the chat with the snacks on Twitch. And you can join us here on when we're recording live if you so choose. But you can also find this obviously after the fact, whether on audio or video in both places, and audio in the places we talked about. So, folks, we are going to get into some comic books, and we are going to start off with, I believe we said Black Cat number 6.
That's right.
And if you want
9
to do
lives, short days, long nights, folks.
right. Shout out to Janet Jackson.
That's right, Miss Janet. If you're nasty. This issue is written by Jed MacKay with art by Michael Dowling, colors by Brian Reber, and letters by Ferran Delgado. This is the first issue in the actually, it's the second issue. I apologize. It's the second issue of the Gilded City arc that is the culmination of the opening. Basically the first volume, the most recent volume of Black Cat, and then it was interrupted by King in Black. So now it's been continued in this current volume, and this Gilded City arc is the culmination of the story that spans these two volumes of Black Cat, which involves Black Cat and her little crew performing heists over the course of several story arcs involving several involving heisting things and burglaring or burgling, actually, I think is the word.
Yeah, basically burgling. Yeah.
Burgling is, I think, the correct word. Burgling several high-profile technology purveyors in the Marvel Universe, aka Rand Industries and Stark Industries, or Stark Technologies. I forget what Stark is called nowadays.
Yeah, pretty much all the high-profile places in the Marvel Universe. Most of them, including the Sanctum Sanctorum,
For and Magic as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, now we see what all that was about. We saw what the string of heists was all connected by in the previous issue, and now we start to see some of the ramifications of the decisions that the Black Fox has made, and some of the agreements that he's agreed to, and seemingly to seemingly to Felicia's benefit as well, but she doesn't exactly see it the way he does.
Right. Which, as we talked before the show, is slightly surprising on her part, because if you've known anything about the Black Fox, this is kind of his thing. Like, yeah, if he's gonna do a thing, if he's gonna, his heists are pretty self-serving for the most part throughout his whole career, and this one is no different. Now, the fact that he trained Felicia and still kind of left her out the loop, treat her basically like a daughter, but still kind of left her out of the loop on this one in certain respects, still kind of bears that out. But even in that, her response to it was kind of a surprise as to what ended up being what ended up coming out of this, because you wouldn't have thought she would have cared as much for for the situation or about the situation, as long as she got something out of it, which he did.
Exactly. But and obviously we've seen some of the some of the precedent being set, some of the foundation for this particular reaction being set throughout this series, how they've developed her character uh, uh, since she stopped being the kingpin of crime in New York, in New York City, and even in this issue where the crew and the Black Cat find themselves above ground and they run into Spider-Man, and there are some thought bubbles here. Some thought not thought they're not thought balloons or bubbles in the traditional sense, but they're internal thoughts and narration where you can see that Felicia Hardy is unfortunately having to act the way she does, and she definitely doesn't like it. So and I'm dancing around what actually happens here because we're not looking to try to spoil this issue and last issue.
Well, I mean, last issue at this point is probably fair game. But yeah, and we kind of went over the final point, so it's fine that we don't necessarily get into the whole thing. If I would say that, and we've been saying this for the majority of the time in reading Black Cat, like it's an enjoyable read and you should definitely check it out.
Right, and the characters I think have undergone pretty good arcs. Her crew definitely have enjoyed their own character development arcs over the course of these 2 volumes. I think that as we were saying, actually we kind of touched upon this earlier, but we didn't really go into as much depth as we had gone offline just prior to the show starting. What I was getting at is every thief that I've seen portrayed tends to have a line that they don't cross when it comes to what they're willing to steal.
Right.
And we see here that Felicia Hardy has a line, and obviously it's a very high line. She's willing to steal a lot of things,
and
has. But there's when it comes to the principle of this particular item, she seems to have drawn a personal line, whereas the Black Fox is, as Roddykat mentioned, and is very clear about, is that the Black Fox is definitely self-serving, definitely focused upon his own well-being, and everything else and everyone else be damned, other than maybe Felicia.
Exactly. Actually, one other thing of note before we move on in this issue, and I think I have it in my notes. I do have it in my notes. So Spider-Man shows up after things start popping off, and I don't know how he knew where she was, or just so happened to be close enough to where that's against. But comic books, things happen like that. And he pretty much asked her, like, "Do you know what's going on? Do you have anything to do with this?" And she straight up lied to his face, and he believed her. Now, anyone who knows the relationship between Spidey and Felicia should know he should not trust her just that easily and quickly, but he does. And it even is remarked in that part of the issue.
Right. And and that's one of the things I was referring to, is that she feels terrible about it. And part of me understands why he's quick to believe her, because it seems like this would be so far out of her normal scope of activity.
Right. That, and we know he's gullible when it comes to certain people.
Oh, definitely. But in terms of just like the logic of it, like this particular happening is definitely magic related. Like it seems magic or extraterrestrial. And that stuff of that nature is almost, even to the lay reader, that's just not up Black Cat's alley. So I sympathize with Spidey in that case.
True, and given the couple of relatively big events, that have been going on actually in his book and just at large in the universe, it's easy enough to be like, okay, this is another one of those. Let me go find the Avengers or somebody.
Exactly. He's looking for Reed, actually.
He was looking for Reed. Yeah. So, that actually reminds me of something I hope I remember later on when we talk about a thing. But that being said, that was Black Cat number 6. Enjoyable read. It's usually a potential click of the week for either one or both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I dare say this one it still qualifies in this case for me anyway. I can say
It's good. What it is that we're spoiled by its consistent, level of achievement every month. Jed McKay and whichever artist he's able to get on these books, and you can tell that for the most part they are servicing this book with a good, with good artists, with a good roster of artists.
right. And as we said when Black Hat just first started, like we don't know where they're going to take her, how they're gonna treat her, what they're gonna do with her, but they've worked it out. They did, they worked it out surprisingly well, and it kind of makes you want to go back to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right.
All right, next up.
What's next?
I don't have the wheel this week. I didn't fill out the wheel this week, folks. So no wheel of comicality.
Oh no, Wheel of Comic. Oh, is that what we're calling it? Wheel of Comicality.
Nah, I just threw that out there. I don't know. We haven't come down on a name for it. So maybe next week it'll be back though.
I got you. All right, let me see what you read. See what we have in common.
We got a few.
How about we do? You know what? How about we do Guardians of the Galaxy? Because we were just talking about that.
Yes, let's.
Guardians of the Galaxy, number 14, written by Al Ewing with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So if anyone was wondering how on earth a particular Latvian monarch decided to cross paths with the Guardians of the Galaxy, guess what? You find out in this issue.
Yes, and it's, dare I say, halfway plausible. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Doom with his resources, and not the first time this has happened, would be able to figure out, hey, there's something that's about to go down. So he just so happened. Now space is big, and how he happened to find the Guardians at this point, it's irrelevant. But I guess
he's also Doom. So
exactly.
It's like, you know what? Exactly. You just sort of chalk that one up to, you know what? That's Victor being Victor.
Right.
And what's funny is that Victor, it's obviously there are Doom bots. I don't think this is a Doom bot because of the things that happen in this issue. But and he doesn't necessarily have to be in two places at once for the things that are happening somewhat concurrently in the Fantastic Four.
And I'm glad you bring in that, because I think we're going to touch on that when we get to Fantastic Four, because I believe there is a throwaway line in that issue that kind of bears out what you just said.
Exactly. So I think that ultimately, we do have some connective tissue between this and what happens in this month's issue of Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
So, but getting back to this Guardians issue, so we do find out how on earth Doom finds his way to, as I said, crossing paths with the Guardians, and they don't exactly get along right away, and it involves Doom trying to take the what is the name of the sword?
Space sword.
The what?
The space sword. I think it's called the Sword of Space and Time or something like that, but I just call it the Space Sword.
Yeah, the Sword of Space.
Yeah.
It's the Sword of Space, which only a king may wield. Right.
Which looks like when I first saw it in this issue, I was like, wait, why does he have the ebony blade? Oh wait. Oh right, I forgot. Teddy also has a sword.
Right. So so it is the space sword, and hijinks ensue because of the Guardians not, obviously for very good reasons, not trusting Victor Von Doom. And Vic pulls out a trick, an old like Al Ewing pulling out, like digging through the FF archives,
which he tends to do.
I'm doing like the grave digger, ditch digger motion, but really what he's doing is, going through the files and be like, oh, back issue, this issue has this particular um, ability that Doctor Doom possesses, how he gains it and what he does with it, and he pulls it out, and I'm like, wow.
Right.
I was absolutely floored by the fact that Al Ewing dug this up and used it in this particular instance and in this situation.
And as we were talking before the show, also harkens to an old Dragon Ball Z trick, also that, as I said, was pretty much used in a same similar manner than it did in Dragon Ball Z, and as it does here, and also when Doom first used it way long time ago.
Exactly, and anyone who is familiar with Dragon Ball Z, which is me now, am newly familiar, as we've been talking about over the last several weeks. The mild spoiler here is, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z, is change. That's what I'll
Yes.
leave you with.
Yes, Victor is now part of the Ginyu Force. Congrats.
Oh
He is
no,
Captain.
with the pose too, because he
Mhm.
does strike a pose at the beginning of the issue.
He very much does. And I was about to go back and say, to be fair, the Guardians don't have any reason to trust Victor, because he attacked them right off the just out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And even going into half of this issue, come to think of it, so I was like, no, you're still doing it in using that chain, using the using that ability and whatnot. And like, if you just wanted to, one, let folks know what's going, like, I get it. You're doomed. You're gonna be like, nope, I'm the only one who could do whatever. I can, I don't need anybody help, and I'm just gonna take what I need. We got this. But little, sometimes half of this didn't necessarily need to happen, but at the same time, you got to fill up them pages, right? So
Right.
but also at the same time, speaking of, while Doom and the Guardians are fighting, there's another group of Guardians who are still on who's still on this planet, we come to find out what's going on with this planet. And also, feels like a thing that came from someplace else, because I feel like either this came from Star Trek, one of the last couple of Star Treks. I think it might have come out from that last Star Trek. Or maybe not. I feel like I've seen this particular part come out of something in fairly recent history, like a plot point in a different way, mind you. But because in this case, it is a very familiar planet that we all know that can move about at will. That shows up.
Exactly.
That's being involved in this scroll fire cult. But I've definitely do recall something similar happening, even the way they described it happening somewhere else, and I wish I could remember where it was. But I feel like it was a Star Trek thing, but I don't remember. So regardless, we have this other crew. They're doing that thing, and it sounds like, from the way the book is ending, or the issue is ending or ended, that the two teams are about to all come together, because it seems like there may or may not be some similarities to what's going on between what Doom is talking about and what's going on with this other team. But also, we also find out how, as Agent 70 said earlier, we found out how Victor ends up joining with the Guardians, because of the fact that we read solicitations, we knew this was coming. They don't necessarily tell us how this stuff happens. So, well, sometimes they do, and that's a kind of a bummer, but that's beside the point. We now know how it happens, and it's like, okay, you know what? If you're gonna have this happen, that makes this probably good a sense as any. Even though it is kind of crazy, the way it drops about, and we're not going to spoil it, obviously, but something ends up happening in Doom's fight with the Guardians that pretty much endears him to help them out, let's just say, and ends up joining the Guardians thanks to what ends up happening.
Right, and if you're a Dragon Ball fan, all I'll say is ribbit.
Yes. Except in this case, it's more like Blam murdered you, but
exactly.
you know, tomato, tomato.
Alrighty, so President Bartlett.
What's next?
I mean, we got to go to Fantastic Four number 32.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah. I
it
guess
makes
it's the
total sense.
logical. Yeah, it's the logical follow up.
Mhm.
Fantastic Four number 32 is written by Dan Slott with art by R.B. Silva and Javier Rodriguez in the backup story. Colors by Jesus Abertov with letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So the main story of this book is kind of kind of a reset coming off of all of the Forever Gate stuff that's been happening.
Mhm.
This is the first issue of the newest story arc that is titled "The Bride of Doom" Part One. And what's funny is that what is pictured on the cover essentially is the gist, although it doesn't actually happen in the cover.
Part of it. It kind of
it's
does.
issued.
It kind of does.
Right, but it's
Or it
the
almost
gist.
does.
It's definitely right. It's the gist of the story, which is interesting, which is uh, as the result of an exhibition of Latvian. Well, it's an exhibit of Latvian items at a New York City, presumably at the the Museum of Natural History and/or Modern Art. In New York City. They're hosting this exhibit of Latvian items and related things. Members of the Fantastic Four are invited along with Alicia Masters, who's having her work displayed there. They're invited to this exhibit, and that is a reason for Ben and Johnny to get dressed up and to take out their respective significant others. Obviously, Alicia's the main guest,
Mhm.
but they're on their way to this exhibit, and obviously Johnny's kind of trying to figure out where he stands with Sky, and the issue opens with him consulting with one of his ex-flames, one uh, uh, Crystal. I'm trying to remember what her last name is, but Crystal of the Inhumans.
I was about to say, I don't know if her marriage still stands, but at one point it was Maximoff because she was married to Quicksilver. So
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Um, but yeah, but as I said, the two of them are doing the superhero FaceTime slash Skype slash Zoom of that Reed has in 4 Yancey Street, and Crystal and Luna, believe it or not, Crystal's daughter with Pietro, who is apparently growing very quickly because she does not look very young in that
well,
in the way that RB Silva draws her.
quickly. It's been some time since we've seen her one, and so to be fair,
Right. Well, you know how rubber band time is in the Marvel universe. Sometimes it go, they'll stretch it so that a lot of time has passed. Sometimes they'll make it stretch so that it doesn't, or contract so that it doesn't. So one of the final things that Luna leaves him with is, "You're going to make the wrong choice and screw everything up." And I laughed.
Yep.
I absolutely laughed when I read that.
Because one, not only does it end up being true, two, not surprising for Johnny.
Exactly. So, so ultimately, things obviously go not according to plan at the exhibit because um, uh, an infiltrator has made their way in. Someone who has
Infiltrators.
made their way. What's that?
Infiltrators, actually.
Oh, right. Well, exactly. That's an excellent point. The first infiltrator that I was thinking of is one, and it's a minor spoiler alert, but this character was bound to show back up since this character reappeared as a result of coming back through the Forever Gate with the Future Foundation, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. So that part is not clear because I don't remember. Obviously, we have seen him as recently as Power Pack. If you're talking about who I'm thinking you're talking about.
Well, Elijah.
Oh, okay. No, no, you're not. You know what? I read actually, and I also read issue 31 right before I read this, so I might be mixing up an appearance that happens there.
Okay.
So scratch what I just said. So yes, Elijah definitely does show up, and yes, she did come with the gate because she was with Future Foundation at the end of all of that.
Right. So yeah, that just reaffirms what I remembered. But ultimately, uh, Elijah, for whatever reason, decides to make a play for Johnny Storm again,
Mhm.
and Sky gets caught in the middle of this, and she is definitely not happy, and all of this stuff comes to the fore during their visit to the museum, where Victorious from Latveria is keeping guard over some of the more valuable, at least to the Latvians, items that are on display.
Mhm.
And and when uh, Alicia convinces Ben to to make a strategic withdrawal, that's when things start to really, to quote, to use some of the popular vernacular, pop off. But
So I want to say real quick, shout out to Dan Slott for that part because you what ends up happening as a result of that, you kind of well, I didn't see coming because that was because it kind of brings up a part that Slot had brought up, but we had not seen in a few quite issues because a lot of things have been going on in a few issues. So the point that Alicia's like, no, we should go home and let them handle that, which is kind of slightly. It was like at first I was like, wait, why would she even say that? Because just things like that happening. With all the stuff that was going on at the time, or what ended up going was about to go on, which they didn't know at the time, but what was already going on at the time. Like you would think they would have been like, no, let's stay, so make sure we try to keep some peace for this. But obviously there's also the other reason why she wouldn't want to stay, because if you know your fantastical history, she was replaced by Elijah. Is it Elijah? Because I
Mhm.
never keep saying that. She was replaced by Elijah back during Scroll Invasion. So obviously, yeah, there's probably a reason why she wouldn't want to be there, and and the kids were getting upset because they know who she is, and and all that, and especially Nikki, the Scroll kid. So that makes sense as to why she would try to get them out of there. But so shout out to Slot for that, because like I said, even though I was like scratching my head, like why would she want them to do that? But at the same time, like no, it makes total sense.
Well, I attributed that quickly to the newly developed parental instincts that they're trying to develop.
Sure.
The newly developed parental instincts that they're trying to instill in themselves, really.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's how I saw that, and in a very timely move, guess the other infiltrators, as Roddykat was was correct to point out, were the traditional one world, one people guys, right? The traditional ones,
Right.
except their call is "We are one world." And when I saw that, I was like, man, Slot was right on time with this.
Hmm. Because obviously, if you have watched Falcon and Winter Soldier.
He was Ashanti in that Ja Rule song,
Oh
you
no.
know. But
Mm.
but he was on time with this.
Nice. You with the doggone music references tonight. What is going on? It's usually me doing that. Anyway, but yes. So obviously, and like I was saying, fresh off of Falcon and Winter Soldier, also, which that's no coincidence. I'm fairly certain. Um, comes Ultimatum, the group Ultimatum, which it's Flag Smashers. If you're from the in the Falcon and Winter
MC.
Soldier parlance, which is pretty much the same group. So they happen to come along and put a wrinkle into things. And Johnny and what's it, Johnny, Elijah, Sky, and Victorious are all fighting, and they end up, and also while having internal fights between each other while this is all going on. But that all gets cleaned up. And then we get to the last half of the or the next part of this issue, because this was how many pages was this? For like 30 something issues, 32 pages.
34.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
So it was
33, 34, something like that.
yeah.
This
So it
is
was
it's including the backup story. So yeah, it's definitely extra sized. Cover price for this was $4.99, so it's definitely a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, you did do the creative team? Did you mention the chess consultant?
No, I didn't, because I was going to mention that when we got to the backup story.
Okay, cool. Well, then not to belabor that in too much further. So we get up a couple other things that happened going into the end of this issue, which goes into, so again, like I was saying, a thing that gets brought back up that we hadn't seen is the thing that happens with Alicia when she gets back home that has to do with
There's
Elijah.
a twist. Right?
Yes,
exactly. There is a twist to what happens with Elijah, and Roddykat just hit upon it, and it's surprising, but not so much because of, as Roddykat mentioned, some of the history of these characters, the emotional baggage and wreckage that they've come out of as a result of their histories together, so their mutual histories. And so I understood that as soon as I saw that panel, I was like, "Oh, I understand where she's coming from." Understanding where all that is and where she is now as a character.
So you kind of wonder, like, wait, so did she really want them to go home because they were trying to, hide, as you said, stoke their parental fires or whatever the case may be, or did she really have the plan to go ahead and do this thing that she did in here, which she had done before, a few issues back?
It can be both.
It can be both, true, but I feel like
it can absolutely be both, because it was logical, absolutely logical, in a museum full of treasures, having the thing, jump out in a superpowered melee.
Right.
That's probably, it was apt that Slott had Alicia choose that, you're a bull and this is a china shop.
Right. But it was also beautiful. Like Alicia's not stupid. It has never been, she's pretty intelligent, and
always, I mean, never, we're going back to FF 48, 49 at this point. Like, she is a well-developed character that they have kind of screwed with over time, especially with the scroll thing.
Yeah.
But they have, but she's found new footing. Now that they've allowed her to develop a relationship with Ben.
Which I'm also going to hate because of this part that happens, because this is going to come back up at some point and it's not going to bode well.
Absolutely. And because a lot of people would be willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, because it is done in the defense of her family. And with this being not just dealing with herself and her immediate family, but then her extended family through her quote unquote in-laws.
Yes. And also the second time she has done this, quote unquote, in defense of her family.
Right.
So, which is why, like I said, I was like, oh, snap. Because, like I said, it was something that we hadn't seen in a few issues, like I've said a couple times already during the course of this.
Yeah, we've seen it under Slott's, under the big hint, if you're not familiar with the Slott run on FF, it's definitely during the Slott run. And you just have to go back a little ways.
And definitely has to do with her family. Specifically.
Exactly. And the last twist that happens in this lead story has to do with Johnny Storm and his philandering ways.
Well, it's all in service of getting to. So basically, this is let's say a kind of Johnny focused issue, but it's kind of in service of, I guess, two things. One, dealing with what he's going through with he and Sky, and his past history and him growing up and all that kind of good stuff. But also slightly in service of what is on the title. If you're watching the video, you can see the cover, of the arc, which is the Bride of Doom, which is also kind of going into that. Okay, forget what I'm saying.
Right. So what was great about this sequence? Is that the art leaves everything so vague. Art Silva does a masterful job of leaving what is actually happening here, when and where these particular conversations are happening, leaves that up in the air until the big reveal on the next page, which is awesome. I thought that was paced so well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was great. It was very great.
That is absolutely that Slot obviously coming up with this particular twist, but it has to be told in this is obviously a visual medium. It has to be told well, and the page layouts and the way the 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 two conversations are being told in parallel
Mm-hmm.
just is masterful. I was so impressed by that. And then there's the big reveal, which is kind of like, oh, he did not. That is totally what I thought. I probably said something out loud. It's like, oh, he didn't. It's like, oh no, he didn't.
But again, we knew this was coming because of solicits and whatnot, and we also pretty much knew. I felt like we knew who it was going to be that this happened to. So I'm just going to spoil this real quick. Dr. Doom, although he did it over Skype technically.
Oh no. That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, which part are you talking
I
about?
agree with that. No, it's like, oh no, he didn't. Like Johnny being Johnny.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. There was that also. Yes.
It's that reveal is what I'm really talking
Yes.
about.
I agree, and I'm with you. Yes, I am with you on.
Because this is me dancing around spoilers, right?
Yes.
So where so I honestly hope, and this is one of my candidates for Click of the Week, because I enjoyed reading this. It was just so fun.
Yeah.
Because of that, because and Roddykat will agree with me as he flips through our review copies. You could just see that sequence, and then when you see the reveal of what actually is happening and what Sky is referring to, you're, oh no, he didn't.
Like even slightly right before the reveal, you can kind of see it, because you can shout out to definitely for RBC for the art, because everything just kind of really expressive in that part.
Right, pacing.
Yes.
Layout, all of it.
And it kind of hurts too, because I'm like, oh man, why does that have to happen to her? Which you kind of knew Johnny was gonna fuck up at some point, but
Right. And then, as Roddykat mentioned, the reveal at the end, which is kind of like the thinly veiled secret, the thinly veiled twist, which we all knew was coming because of the solicits, happens.
Right.
But the circumstances under which that surround it is what really makes the story.
Right. Johnny happens to be privy to, because of the situation he had got himself in at that moment, was privy to an announcement or a proclamation that was only supposed to be for two people's eyes. Well, for one other person's eyes only.
And ears. Yeah.
And ears only. Exactly. Dr. Doom proposes to someone. And it's, again, shouldn't be that hard to figure out if you, been kind of, I take that back. No, I stand behind it. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out because of, this issue by itself, but even given, and I would go so far as to say, if you've read Dr. Doom's book, which actually was a pretty good book, that Crypto World book, so you should definitely check that out. But even if you haven't, I
definitely second that.
Yeah, even if you haven't and just been reading reading Fantastic Four and Doom's dealings here, you could kind of figure out, who he was who he's proposing to. Now, yeah, it still seems kind of weird that it and kind of out of the blue in a sense, because it's not like they didn't have any kind of relationship outside of what he is to her, or what she is, basically what she is to him.
Right.
But and like I said, going back to the Dr. Doom books, some of that kind of gets played with during the course of that Dr. Doom book, which is why I would suggest maybe possibly seeking that out and checking that out, because some of that, it gets a little bit deeper, but not by much. During the course of that run, which is only like 10 issues at this point, and I think that book might be gone.
What?
The Dr. Doom book.
Oh yeah, no, it's over. It was a limited series, and it lasted, I believe, 10 issues.
I think so. Yeah. So definitely check out that book if you are interested in some of that part. But nevertheless, you don't necessarily need to for this.
That was Cantwell, right?
Cantwell, yes.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good. I was very happy that Roddykat put me onto that book, and I went back and read it, and it was good.
Yeah. But like I said, yeah, Victor proposes to somebody, and like I said, it's not that big of a surprise to us, because I don't know too many other people who it could have been, outside of Sue, which Reed wasn't gonna let that happen.
Right.
Well, whatever.
that's a more Namor thing.
Yeah,
so.
pretty much. Although we have also seen Doom kind of, if you remember Secret Wars, Doom was kind of.
That's true.
Yeah, so he was kind of in there like that. So yeah, that happens, and then that ends off the main story, and then we get to the backup story, which starts off back at Reed.
It's a flashback.
Yes,
yeah.
It starts off as a flashback with Reed and Sue and Ben being in college, and the first meeting of Reed and Victor over. Reed trying to be nice and start up a game of chess because clearly them two being the smartest folks on the campus at the time, that being the case. And Reed's like, "Hey, you want to play some chess with me?" And Doom's like, "Nah, you go, whatever." But then cut to basically now, at some point recently during the course of what's going on in the main. Well, we can assume after what happens in the main story. They to continue the chess game with swords to an end that honestly I didn't see was going to happen, but also came up in the solicits.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil that either.
My reading on this was tinged with foreknowledge of what's supposed to happen.
Right.
And I had a feeling that particular end was the point of the story.
Right. But I will say this: even if you don't read solicits like we do, and that's I wouldn't suggest that too many times unless you just really, really want to know. But if you know about Reed and Victor's history together, you would not have expected what the end result of that backstory happening. You kind of could, but you kind of wouldn't off the shelf, because they've always had a combative relationship, to say the least. That's being nice about the situation.
Not being the kindest way of,
Yeah.
I mean, rivalry is probably only a little kinder.
Yes. Yes.
So what Roddykat was asking about earlier was there is a consultant credited in this story, Zach Rivkin. He's credited as the chess consultant because there are two separate battles being waged simultaneously during this duel of swords between Reed and Victor. And as Roddykat mentioned, the flashback involves a proposed game of chess that never gets off the first move. That only gets off the first move from White, right? And the game is continued in conjunction with this sword duel, and they are going through a virtual chess game, calling out positions and moves, board positions and moves. And I've always been envious of people that can do this because I'm not much of a chess player at all, and I regret not having taken it up at a younger age. But
yeah, same.
I've always envied people that can visualize a chessboard and call out moves. Shout out to Ron Weasley, knight to h3, but he's playing on a wizard chessboard, so it was big and he could see it.
And he's also one of the pieces.
Exactly. So, but at the end of the day, people that can visualize a chessboard in their head and know where all the pieces are, because that's the point.
Right.
You have to know where the pieces are so that you can plan your moves ahead and counter potential moves from your opponent. So what ends up happening here is there is a battle fought but a war won.
Right. And now, given that these are two of the smartest people in the Marvel universe, not surprising that they could do this
right
at all. And they are doing it. And they actually, weirdly enough, kind of remind me of the Dragon Ball Z, if you think about the Cell Saga near the end, to a point. This is not going to be, look, I think I'm almost fairly certain I made a Dragon Ball Z reference last week for the title, so I'm not going to do that this week, but that's,
You definitely did.
But it won't stop. So, but you could very much see something like that happening here, like I said, with that. Hey, even down to a certain color scheme. But anyway, that's beside the point. But yeah, that's pretty much how that plays out. And I'm going to assume next issue, either there's going to be another backup that's going to go further with this, or it's just probably more likely going to get taken up in the main issue. Because this is, again, part 1 of, I'm going to assume, a 5 or 6 issue arc. Whether it actually happens that Doom's going to get married or not, hey, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel, and I know I'm kind of harping on this a little bit, but I know, like I said, I feel like there are people who are going to read this if they've just been reading Fantastic Four. We're going to be like, wait, what? But I really do think that Doctor Doom will kind of bear a little bit more about why he potentially would be doing this. It doesn't necessarily go any way to do this that we know of, but I feel like if you read that and then go into this, and like, you know what, that makes more sense than you think it would.
Oh, you mean Guardians?
No. I meant Doctor Doom.
Oh, I see.
However, I'm glad you brought that point up, because yes, in the main story, because that's the part with the main story we did totally forget about. So when the proposal was happening, Doom did it over basically Doom Skype or whatever the case may be, and he did mention that his intentions attentions are elsewhere, and he couldn't do that in person or whatnot. Which some would say that that's probably because he's in Guardians of the Galaxy doing that right now.
Or he's planning on doing the Guardian stuff.
Because right. Sounds like he might have been already there.
Well, it depends on what it is. It depends on whatchamacallit. It depends on, as you said, whether or not he's there or not. Because right. The way it's phrased here, the way that Dan Slott uses the phrase, the way that Slott phrases it is that he's preparing. So he wants to make sure that Ledbeer is in good hands.
True.
While he's away. So that's why I think he hasn't quite gone into space with the Guardians yet.
Right. Or he's on his way there or whatever. But yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how I read it.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah. So, but yeah, Fantastic Four is a good issue. Some would say a fantastic issue.
Yeah, listen, extra-sized and for good reason. It's one of those times when, the entire book serves the story, as opposed to, some of those throwaway kind of backup stories. So I was definitely lots to read and lots to digest, and lots of great sequences and great art. Like I gushed over that particular sequence with Johnny and his like I said, philandering. If you want an SAT word, folks, there's one. Look it up, learn something.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to Dan Slott, who I'm just going to say really quickly, has probably made Fantastic Four as interesting as it has in a long while, barring a couple of things here and there in the past. So, like the Slott's been doing some consistently cool things with the Fantastic Four since he's gotten a book, and I hope he's allowed to stay on it for a good while.
Same, and he's been blessed with good artists too. They gave him RB Silva.
Yeah. Who did he start off with? I can't remember. Do you remember? But he started out pretty good.
He started off with RB Silva.
Did he? Okay.
But he's had a rotating cast, but he started off with RB Silva because this was RB Silva's first project post Hoxpox.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. That being said, yeah, good stuff. I can't say you could just read this off the bat and know everything that's going on, because obviously some of it kind of plays off some like little bits and pieces kind of plays off of things that's been going on in the last couple of arcs.
Right.
So yeah, you can't necessarily go in here and just be like, hey, I'll just pick it up as that. But you can take a shot with it, I guess. And if you want to go back and see what's been going on, do so.
Yeah, it's tough. Like it's it's kind of like, all right, so this is a big storyline, but you kind of need to know what has happened over the past several issues.
Right. And as I said, may possibly need to seek out a secondary book. May
Right.
want to, don't necessarily need to. I put that because you don't necessarily need to, but might want to.
Right. And it's funny because when you think about it, this run is 32 issues old now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not, it's been a while. They've had all that Forever Gate stuff and, developing all that stuff before we even get to this stuff.
Right. And as you recall, it started with them just basically coming back. Like Reading
Right.
Two just basically coming back, just period. Where after being gone, with the with the Future Foundation, or just gone just in general.
Right.
So
Exactly.
and that was a whole arc and a half in itself. And going into the rest of this.
Yeah, exactly. And reestablishing their new status quo of not being at the Baxter building and setting up a new home. And then they did Ben and Alicia's relationship, and there's been lots of cool stuff happening.
Mm-hmm. Lots of pieces on this board, some would say.
Yeah. So I think we should probably start rapid firing some of this stuff.
I think that is a good idea.
So I will spin it up and we will start going through our lists.
Rapid fire, folks, where we try to keep it brief. Sometimes
We
it does
got
happen.
time to bleed.
Exactly. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
Absolutely. All right. So, first off is the DC Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration #1. This is basically an anthology book put out by DC to celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is May, which is right now, folks. So happy AAPI Heritage Month. And, let's stop Asian hate, support our small Asian businesses as we come out, as we continue to struggle with some of the effects of the pandemic. What was cool about this book is that it does serve to highlight several of the DC Asian characters. What's striking about this book is that there are so many characters that are of Asian descent that are at least partially Asian. And what's even more striking about it is that all of these characters are, how shall I put this? And no offense to Cassandra Cain, minor. It's really like a harsh criticism.
And this is where I come in because I believe when this book first announced, we both did, but
I ripped
yes.
I ripped this book. And I'll give you my justification very quickly as part of this rapid fire. Part of this book has character bios in the back. So Roddykat, when Roddykat has a chance to go through this, he'll see that in the back of this book, our review copies, you have character bios of the Atom, Batgirl, Cheshire, Cheshire Cat, Clown Hunter, Dr. Light, Element Woman, Gold Lantern, Grace Choi, Green Arrow. This is Connor Hawke, who I did not know was part Asian. Green Lantern from that Green Lantern Legacy.
The Legacy book, right? Graphic novel.
Right. Lady Shiva and Katana, Red Arrow, New Superman, that's Kong Kinan, or Kinan Kong. The new Swamp Thing, who I did not know was of Indian descent. East Indian descent. And Tracy 13. I don't know who was that, but which of these characters?
I believe that's a Wildstorm character from Gen 13. Gen 13, yeah. But regardless,
point being, of all of these characters that they shout out here, right? Who are all these people? I mean, I recognize a lot of them as a comic book reader. Some of them are new, right? Some of them are definitely new, and in an effort to help diversify the roster of characters, right? They've been
some
added.
of them are legacy characters, basically.
Exactly, but some of them have been added, right? As Roddykat mentioned, some of them have taken on mantles as part of Hero's legacy. But really, what I was going to say is, it's great that they're using these characters, that they're spotlighting these characters, but it's a knock. It's actually it reveals a very strong knock you can take against DC, that they have not developed like lead Asian characters. The counterpoint to this is the fact that, and I got so annoyed at this, and I thought to myself, well, at least DC decided to do an AAPI heritage book, to honor the holiday, right? The month, to celebrate the month, right? The same way, Marvel's doing a Pride book for June, right? I'm like, well, why doesn't Marvel do an Asian one? But then I realized that guess what is also out this week? Silk #3 from Marvel, written by Maureen Gu, art by Takeshi Miyazawa, colors by Ian Herring, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar.
I feel like that's a nice segue. Not quite what I was like. Where are you going with that? Because I know they didn't put out a Marvel Voices book. So I'm like, wait, but nice segue.
Right, because what we actually get is an actual title, an actual solo title with an Asian American or an Asian American character as the lead, with an Asian writer and Asian artist as part of the main creative team on this book. And you know what? I think that's better than a book that set out to celebrate the month, because you actually have a title here that is holding its own. And in Silk #3, we get a continuation of that gangland investigation that Cindy Moon is on, but there are a lot of revelations here that that come up in this book as a result of things happening unbeknownst to Cindy. And as she tries to go about her investigation, things get very complicated for her because of the relationship that she has with her new therapist, who, unbeknownst to her, is related to the target of her investigation. And meanwhile, this whole demon cat thing it looks like it's going to develop into something much, much worse, something much more worse than what the basically the antagonist of this story intended. I'm being purposefully vague because I want people to read this book and pick it up. All right, next up for me is Children of the Atom, #3, written by Vita Ayala, with art by Paco Medina, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So this is part of, there was some stuff made of the art change. I think Bernard Chang was on this book for the first 2 issues, but now it's Paco Medina. I don't know if they're going to be alternating or if Paco Medina is going to be the permanent artist on the book, but I like the change. I thought that the art was a little bit more consistent, a little bit more sharp. It almost seems like Paco Medina, they're starting to develop a house style that's a little bit closer to the Hox Pox style, if you look at the art in it. In terms of the computer art and the coloring. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at this yet, Roddykat?
No, not yet.
Right. Well, the cover is by R.B. Silva, but if you look at the insides being by Paco Medina, the art seems consistent. And I just think that this is a good development for the Marvel books, especially the X books, having there's like a nice little semi-house style, where there's a very just consistent look to things, and it's very sharp and it's very slick. With regards to the story, the mystery behind what these quote unquote children of the atom actually are, whether or not they are mutants, continues to develop, and it's going to be something that unravels over the course of at least this opening story arc. We are now in issue 3, so this could be a 6-issue revelation, that kind of plays out over the course of the first 6 issues or more. So, the mystery continues. Next up for me is Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man King's Ransom #1, written by Nick Spencer, with art by Roger Antonio, Carlos Gomez, and Zay Carlos, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So I'm not going to spoil this because I think Roddykat's going to read it. It is an exercised capper to the very, very long Boomerang story that Nick Spencer has been telling in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man, and it is essentially a nice little bow on top of this story. But Roddykat mentioned this when we were offline just before going on. It's about time that Nick Spencer wrapped up this story because it just has dragged on way too long. It's rolled into the Kindred story. It's rolled into a lot of different, storylines, and it just took a long time to resolve itself. So now we finally get some resolution on the Boomerang story in Amazing Spider-Man. So if you're looking for the conclusion of that story, you should definitely take a look at Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man King's Ransom #1. Next up, I'm going to do a little bit of a skip here and go to Heroes Reborn #2. It's written by Jason Aaron with art by Dale Keown and Carlos Magno and Ed McGuinness, because it's a two-part. It's a book divided into 2 stories essentially, with inks by Scott Hanna, Carlos Magno, and Mark Morales, and colors by Edgar Delgado, with colors also by Matthew Wilson. Looks like I left out the letterer. Just gonna pull that up real quick, folks. Bear with me. I apologize. I do my best to try to get these credits in so that we can get our reviews going. VC's Corey Pettit lettered the second story, and the first story is I'm scrolling, get them done, scrolling. Oh no, VC's Corey Pettit lettered the entire book. My apologies. So the first story in this book is a Hyperion based story, and you really see the characterization that they're giving Hyperion in this, where it's definitely a mix of where they have taken the character post his relaunch, post his that the initial series that he had that was cut off very quickly because it didn't sell. With was it All New, when All New came out?
Mm-hmm.
There was a Hyperion. I mean, listen, there was a Hyperion hip hop cover that was based off of the Fresh Will Smith, not the Fresh Prince, but the Will Smith cover.
Right.
I think it was a Big Willie style. I think it was, and we get this story told from Hyperion's let's say conservative point of view. Not necessarily going to go as far as right-wing point of view, but definitely conservative point of view, and how the history of the Marvel Universe has changed as a result of the catalyst of this Heroes Reborn story. And Roddykat's not exactly up on this book yet, so I'm not going to spoil what is revealed in this book, but we definitely have some things intertwining with some of the one-shots that take place this week, or namely Peter Parker, the Amazing Shutterbug.
So I
I'm
did just
sort of
skim.
talk about that in conjunction.
Yeah, so I did just skim through Heroes Reborn, and I did see where that was the case.
Right. So, just touching upon that as well. Peter Parker, the Amazing Shutterbug, written by Mark Bernardin from Fat Man Beyond, with art by Ron Lim and Rafael De La Torre, inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Jim Campbell, and letters by VC's Ariana Meyer. I have something to mention about this Peter Parker book before we move on, but let me rewind it back to Heroes Reborn #2. As I said, a lot of the stuff is very Hyperion centric. Some of these heroes that are in this, some of the Marvel heroes that find themselves active during the Squadron Supreme continuity, definitely know something is wrong. Definitely feel like that time is wrong, or the reality that they're in is incorrect, and they are all looking for the one hero who is the focal point of the change in the Marvel history in the story. So that is, essentially the crux of that first story. The second story involves what Blade has been doing, and seeks to move the Heroes Reborn story forward. So that is where I will leave Heroes Reborn #2 with all of you. I think that it's fun. I don't know how, we still haven't talked about how we get to this reality warping,
Right.
situation yet. That may not be revealed for a while. But this is definitely this is definitely developing as a character study of how the Squadron Supreme characters are adjusting to this reality, because the next issue is supposed to be Blur, which is the speed guy.
So I was going to mention
the Flash analog.
right, basically. So I was going to mention the fact that and I think we've already said this in the past, that we assume that it might be coming off of what's going on in Adventures right now. We don't know that for certain, but yeah, probably by the time this finishes, we will probably, if that is the case, we might get to that point, which is going to be weird, because by the time we get to that point, if that's the case, Heroes Reborn might be over. Possibly.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, exactly. We will see. What I mean, if this is tightly scheduled, though, it should come. It should all be very, uh, it should be running. Like I said, it should. If it runs on schedule, then that shouldn't be the problem.
Sure.
Um, with regards to the Amazing Shutterbug book, this is definitely a what if. It's a what if Peter doesn't get bit by the spider, because that's not really a spoiler, because that's in the title.
Right.
And things that happen during the course of the Heroes Reborn #1 issue, kind of unfold over the course of this issue. But we also get some flashbacks as to what happens to Peter Parker over the course of his life, that lead him to that that point in time where he crosses over into that Heroes Reborn miniseries. So
right, in
it's
the second issue.
it's definitely affecting. I felt bad. I just felt for him reading this book, because it's a character that if it wasn't for this one thing, things could have gone so differently.
Right.
And just to see how Mark Bernard laid that, I'm like, what, this is definitely a strong what if entry.
Right, and it is usually with what if, there's like, here's this one thing that happened that might have changed. In this case, it's a couple of things. Like, it's the main thing with him getting his powers, but it's this other thing, which I won't spoil, that also affects his life. Well, I guess there's a couple of things in that one, but the ones after that are smaller in relation to him getting bit and this other major event in his life.
Right.
That happens differently, I'll say.
All right. And that's it for me. Those are my books for the week.
Alrighty then. And we will go to my books of the week, which I guess, hey, coincidentally, continues the spider theme. Spider-Woman #12. As I get back over here to my notes. So, Spider-Woman, written by Carla Pacheco, art by Perry Perez, color artist Frank Darmada, and lettering by VC's Travis Lanham. Which, by the way, before I go any further, Silk was actually a potential Click of the Week. I forgot to mention that when Agent Seven was talking about that. But anyway, so we get an origin story for.
I was about to say, there's some great Cindy and J. Jonah stuff in there.
And I was going to mention that too, but I totally forgot. That whole part. I'm thinking, like, how do how do you, as Cindy, trust that that he's doing what he said he was doing? You know, at that
Exactly.
part. But it was a nice part. As a matter of fact, I think I did say in my notes that I guess Jonah's, you know, recent dealings with Peter has kind of softened him up. You know, to him in dealing with these costume spiders specifically.
Right. I was about to say it's made him more sympathetic.
Yes. So that is an interesting thing to see. Also, I feel like there's a Saya parallel with that the main bad guy, bad woman, I guess. Not just because it's not only just her name, but the hair, except for the fact that she's not singing and there's no chandeliers. And there was a revelation on that, which I don't think I don't remember you touching on, that we get at the end of that issue that I'm not sure if we knew about.
No, we did not know that she was in fact capable of defending herself.
Well, that too, but I mean the revelation at the other revelation at the end of the book, who is she related to? Supposedly, maybe possibly related to.
Oh, that's a big revelation.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that character, believe it or not, also shows up in King's Ransom. So.
Right, because he's a part of the whole crime thing. Yeah. So, but back to Spider-Woman number 12, which has nothing to do with any of that. But yeah, we get an origin story for those brothers and the talking swords that Jess has been fighting. I don't know if you could plan on. I know you kind of dropped off with Spider-Woman.
I did. I mean, I jumped back on just to see what was going on with their new, like her reversion to the old costume.
Right.
But I haven't read this issue yet.
Right. So I won't say too much more than, yeah. So we get that origin story on that, and the whole thing is ends up devolving, going from one fight to another fight with those parties, let's just say. And at the end, there's there felt like there was definitely a time jump at the end, but it felt like we missed a page. But it looks like that was a choice that was made in how they handled something that happens at the end of the issue, let's just say. That's kind of a heartbreaker. And yeah. So then that's all I'll say about that. It was like I said, the whole thing with the brothers, I'm like, I'm not sure where that was going or where that's even going to go, but apparently they're doing more with that. But the thing at the end was kind of like, okay, well, we're gonna see what they do about that. That's sad. Next up though, Star Wars number 13. So this is a prelude to the War of the Bounty Hunters event that is now going on. That started last week with Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. We didn't get to talk about that last week because I don't think neither one of us had read it at the time. But this is another prelude kind of going into that. And I would suggest that if you're going to read this, you might want to read that. Right.
This is kind of like a Star Wars line-wide event. So.
Right. And it definitely shows, even, so the short strokes is, this is taking place between or after the events of Empire Strikes Back. Han is in Carbonite. Boba Fett has them, which is pretty much the catalyst going into this to this event. Because of the Alpha, Boba Fett ends up on Nar Shaddaa because something was going on with the Carbonite that Han was being encased in, which led him to getting into some things. Cut to this issue of Star Wars 13. Luke and the droids, Luke, Chewie, and the droids end up getting wind of this, that the fact that Boba Fett was on Nar Shaddaa, and they go check it out. They meet up with another old friend of Chewbacca's, which is another Wookiee, who we'll probably never ever see ever again. Well, we might, I don't know. They tend to bring up things that may come up at some point, or may have come up at some point. We don't know. Look, Wookiees are long-lived. I think the only other thing I can say about this, because I think Agent 7 is also going to read this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I said in my notes it should have been called Star Wars Also: The Search for Han, because that is, but Yeah. And that's pretty much all I'll say about that, because there is another thing that happens at the end of this issue with R2 really, really wanting to tell Luke something for the whole issue, and then he finally gets to tell him, which, you know, what does that have to do in relation to this arc going on? Not entirely sure, but I guess we'll find out. Next up, and while I continue to forget to flip these doggone covers, we go to the next Batman Second Son, number 11. And boy, I wish I had read that Ruby Justice League, because I totally had forgotten all about that. While I'm picking up this, there we go. So again, this is the digital first. This is a digital first book that is ongoing, written by John Ridley. That John Ridley, 12 Years a Slave. Pencils by Travel Foreman, inks by Norm Rapmund, colors by Rex Locus, and letters by Darren Bennett. Katana shows up and fights this I don't know her name. She's this girl, the woman that works for Arcadine, who is the dude that Jace is trying to go after, who is now in Gotham for some reason. So Katana goes up against this woman, beats her down handily. You know, but she holds her own. I mean, there was this other lady who holds her own. I think she's called the Morrigan or something. I'm not entirely sure. I've never really caught her name during this whole thing. But on the other side of that, Jace's mom pretty much settles the case that the Foxes have against them by trying to settle out of court in the way that they can do now that they got a lot of money. The rest of the issue is pretty much Katana giving Chase a talk, and we find out that Katana trained Jace at some point. Mind you, this is taking place right before Future State. And maybe this was something in Batwing or something. I'm not entirely sure, because I haven't read Batwing since the beginning of when Luke was Batwing. And I think at this point he's still Batwing. So I don't know if any of this was going on around that time. I'm not sure. But regardless, that's pretty much this. And she ends the talk by saying that he should be about being a symbol for better things, which is probably more likely leading closer to the events of Future State and him getting a bat suit. Still hadn't gotten it at this point, and it's been 11 issues, which in physical terms is probably like, what, 6? Or half a 6 at this point. But that's that. Magic: The Gathering, number 2, written by Jed McKay, illustrated by Ed Guara, colors Ariana Consoni, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. Typo there. Excuse me. So basically, Naya, Raul, and Vraska form an alliance to figure out who's behind the attempts on their lives, and it all ends up back to Jace. And not to spoil anything for anybody who's wanting to check this out, which is actually kind of a fun read if you're a Magic Together fan and or a fan of Jed McKay's writing. Which again, if you're reading Black Cat, you probably are.
Righto.
Huh?
I said righto.
Yep. So you may want to check this out, like especially if you're a fan of Magic the Gathering, because this is pretty much. There's been other Magic the Gathering books, but this is kind of a mainline book to where I don't know where this particular arc is going to go, or whether they're going to break away from that, or whether this is just going to be these 3 people going to get, solving these 3 planeswalkers, going around solving mysteries or whatnot. But I'm here for the ride because I enjoy me some Magic the Gathering. I am a big nerd like that. You should have figured that out by now. Let's see. My last book is oh, did I even get a cover for that? Here's the Magic the Gathering book. The cover for that book is an image book, Time Before Time, written by Declan Shalvey and Rory McConville, art by Joe Palmer, colors by Chris O'Halloran, and letters by, and I apologize for if I screw up this name, Hassan Atsmane El Hawa. I had it right before the show. I think I had it right before the show. I'm not sure. Allow. So again, I apologize for if I butchered that name. So the crux of the books is about the syndicate that for some odd reason, well, not odd reason, for some reason, is smuggling people into the past if they got the right amount of money. So it's kind of like a time witness protection program, but not really. Because as we found during the course of this issue, a couple of people that that are using this service are not good people. So, and they're hiding out from the law. That's kind of a side point, because the crux of it is this: a couple of the workers, the transporters, as you would, who are apparently putting their bodies on the line doing this work in shuttling people into the past, are wrecking their bodies in doing so. Because apparently the main reason why people are leaving is because the time that they're in, which is definitely the future. I think it's like 2064 or 2364, something like that. It's pretty much well into the future. It's not great there. Things are not good. So people are escaping to the past, to get away from that. And those who have the money to do so. And apparently these people that work for the syndicate are paying off debts. As with any kind of slummy job like that, apparently things keep happening where they can't pay off their debts because something keeps breaking or whatever the case may be. It's an interesting premise. These couple of guys that work for this company end up getting a plan to do something for themselves, let's say, in relation to what I've just said, but things don't go the way they were starting to plan it. And someone else also has an idea and ends up hijacking one of the transport pods, and now shenanigans ensued. Let's put it this way. I'm considering kind of keeping up with the book, because like I said, the premise itself is kind of interesting, and I'm kind of at the very least want to see where this is going to go in the next couple of issues.
Right. I had a chance to flip through this, and it looked interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't have enough time to squeeze it in today before the show, so I'm definitely going to try to read this weekend. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, definitely. And there's, as we have found out in the past on this show, there's a lot of Image books or IDW books or whatever outside of the big two books that have some interesting premises, that are not within the big two. Sometimes they hold up, sometimes they don't. We'll see. And that being the case, that is it for me. So, Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
We have one Kliq from one of our absent hosts, and that is Future State, Gotham #1, from Tim.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty sure about mine. I'm gonna go with Fantastic Four #32.
Damn good pick. I don't blame you for that. I feel like I kind of want to go with you on that, but also, Black Cat was actually pretty good, but also I'm actually going to go with Silk #3.
Nice.
Because I enjoyed it, especially weirdly enough, it's for that banter, that one part with her and Jonah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rest of that is what it is, and the book is definitely fun. But yeah, that part kind of was like, oh, that was cute. And that, folks, are our Kliqs of the week. Not a bad one in the pot. So now we're going to go on to the news section. Luckily, there's not that much not as much news as we've had in the past. But we're going to start off with the cinematic news. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night. Here's a curveball. Our first ad read of the night is for Audible, folks. You can get a free 30-day trial and a welcome kit. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. You can get a free audiobook download and the 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Comic Book Chronicles. There are over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. I can definitely recommend one audiobook, and that is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I'm starting to wonder if I need to get the audiobook for A Promised Land, the first half of President Obama's memoirs of his time in the White House, because I haven't had a chance to circle back and finish the book. I am essentially halfway through it. Um, it would be nice to listen to him read it to me the same way uh, Michelle Obama read her book to me. That was kind of fun. And also, I would say, I'm wondering if it would be fun to listen to. I'm trying to find a book that's on my reading list, but a lot of the stuff that I have is nonfiction stuff, political stuff. I wonder if maybe I need to expand my audio book reading, but it's definitely worth checking out. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/comic book chronicles. Again, that's audibletrial.com/comic book chronicles for your free audiobook.
I feel like you definitely did throw me a curveball on that one because we totally didn't have that one. I mean, we have it, but we don't normally bring that one up, so didn't have it ready. But I was thinking, I feel like remember when we were doing these, we had or someone would have a recommendation that was kind of comic book based, and if I'm not mistaken, that Sean Howe book, the Marvel, was it the Marvel Way?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is also on Audible, and that would be from what I remember reading part of. It was a pretty good book. I should that is definitely a book I should finish. Also, Ready Player 1 and 2 was on there if you were so inclined. But anyway, that's that. So maybe next time we'll probably remember that going into
I was about
this.
to say that unfortunately the Marvel Way book is not. I just did a search on
It's not
Audible, and it's not. Yeah, it's not available on Audible.
Oh, boo, because I remember it was. I'm gonna
Oh no,
move
it is. No. You know what it is? The Sean Howe book is Marvel Comics: The Untold Story.
There we go. That's what I knew. I was messing up the name.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're seeing that tweet out that I'm pointing to, don't worry about that. We'll get to that in a minute. Now we're going to start off with the news, with the cinematic news, as we do every time about this time. With Tom Welling wants to play Superman opposite Robert Pattinson's Batman. Tom Welling, is the star of Smallville. So has stated that he would love to join. Has stated that he would love to return to the, this is the sentence that's in the article, this is not me stuttering over this, to the DC universe as Superman. That was a weirdly done sentence. Ideally playing opposite Robert Pattinson's Dark Knight, set to debut in Matt Reeves' The Batman. In an interview with El Mundo Geek, whatever site it is, Welling mentioned that he would be game to cameo as the DC superhero on CW's The Flash at some point. The actor also stated that he would also jump at the opportunity to play his Clark Kent role alongside Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, because of course he would. I mean, at this point, would be a little older Clark Kent, but sure, why not? I guess. Next up.
How old is he in real life?
I don't know. I mean, granted, he was young-ish. I mean, he was young when that happened. Hold on, let's find out.
Yeah, exactly. To the Googles, folks. To the Googles.
He's younger than us. He's 44.
Yeah, look at that.
Huh.
Look at that. And you know what's funny? He's actually, you know what? It's just one of those things that you don't realize because he's not in the suit. He's 6'3". He's actually like a good height for Superman.
Right. So, go figure.
Like if he packed on the muscle, right. I mean, obviously they'll probably put him in a muscle suit, but he's actually got the height to pull it off.
Right. So that's interesting. I did not know that. I didn't know. For some strange reason, I felt like he might have been older than us, because obviously there was a CW show and they have older people playing a young person. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that couldn't have been the case.
Exactly, but we were probably contemporary. Slightly contemporary with him when he was on Smallville. So
that is also true. So next
up. So some photos reveal the first look at the Titans television show's Arkham Asylum set. That's going to be central to season 3's plot involving Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. It was posted on Twitter. Toronto Filming provided a preview of the Arkham Asylum set. They said they found the Arkham Asylum in Guelph at the old prison. The first look at this iconic Gotham location, the tweet reads, the accompanying pictures illustrate the Arkham Asylum front gate, signs depicting the hospital's logo, and some heavy-duty vehicles. Okay. The Titans crew is using the Guelph Correctional Facility outside of Toronto as its Arkham. The building was originally constructed in the early 1900s, not unlike Gotham's Asylum. And Titans is scheduled to shoot in Ontario through June with no premiere date set yet for the third season.
No surprise. Toronto-based filming. Canadian-based filming.
Right.
G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra and Retaliation land a 4K Ultra HD 2-disc Blu-ray set. This set is going to be dropping from Paramount Pictures on July 20th, apparently. Why? Well, I mean, it's going to have all the bells and whistles that you would expect for 4K Ultra Blu-ray. I don't think either one of those films are worth it. I'm going to be honest. But also shout out to Adrian Pelicki, who's in who's in Retaliation at the very least.
Gotcha.
And we just spoke about John Wick. There you go. The tie, folks. Let's see. Oh yeah, I guess this is ahead of that Snake Eyes movie that's happening near the end of this year. I guess that makes some sense.
Right.
Next up,
so Ewan McGregor might not be the only Star Wars character swinging a lightsaber in the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. Actor Moses Ingram posted a video on her Instagram page. By the way, circling back to Silk, I thought it was hysterically funny that Maureen Gu used the actual names of the social media platforms in the story. I was like, whoa, she actually dropped the Twitter and Instagram in there.
Mm-hmm.
They used like a fake Marvel name for it.
Right.
I was just surprised. I'm like,
yeah,
did
same here.
Let that slide, or they just decided to just like say screw it?
That's probably more the case. Yeah.
Probably. But anyway, I thought it was funny. So getting back to this story, actor Moses Ingram posted a video on her Instagram page, which shows her going through some rigorous lightsaber training set to the tune of Future's Life is Good. Ingram can be Ingram can be seen in the dark swinging a blue-bladed saber across and behind her body, with her video sporting the tagline, "May the Fourth be with you." Okay.
Right, because
we still don't know who. We don't know the identity of her character and possible Force affiliation.
Correct. If that saber she's holding is an indication, could be light side, but we still don't know that because that could just be for the effect because she's working in the dark.
Right.
And she could actually go both. She could be split, and maybe she's light in one way and then goes dark. Something like we don't know.
You don't know.
But regardless, it was a cool thing to see. Next up though. And yes, well, we talked about May 4th already, so that in last week's show. Young Fennec Shand fully revealed in new Star Wars The Bad Batch promo image. Fennec Shand makes her return to Star Wars in The Bad Batch, and fans finally have a better look at her animated self. Thanks to Reddit, a promo image of Shand without her helmet has been revealed. Shand was first brought. We know where Fennec Shand came from. People have watched The Mandalorian. And where she is now at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. But this is a younger Fennec Shand. And if you're watching the video, you can see a picture of her right there. I know this is probably slightly spoiled. Has she shown up on the show yet?
Who?
Fennec.
Of course.
Okay. No, I'm just because you have been watching it and I have not yet. So.
Well, I mean, outside of The Mandalorian, you mean?
I mean, has she shown up in The Bad Batch?
Oh, she's supposed to, not yet.
Oh, she hasn't yet. Okay, gotcha.
She's supposed to.
So I'm assuming this might be is upcoming in the next issue or next episode too, which is actually as of this recording tomorrow. Yeah, hours from now. So next up,
Next up, so Michael B. Jordan saved himself some angst and trouble when he actually bombed his audition for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So he
Saved us
recalls
too.
bombing his audition for that was my editorializing. Michael B. Jordan recalls bombing in his audition for Star Wars: The Force Awakens because he just couldn't connect to the material. He remembers that as his worst audition to date. While speaking with Variety about his audition, he thinks it's because he couldn't wrap his brain around some of these sides because when you're reading for these high level projects, there's never really any specificity in the sides. Everything's super vague, everything is in secret. He continued reading through, he just couldn't connect it. He definitely bombed that one for sure. I think that was uh, a landmine you dodged there, Michael B. Jordan, in my personal opinion. Uh, Although
That
you also hit one with Fantastic Four, which was the same year that you played. That was in December in 2015 when you played Johnny Storm. So you dodged one landmine and hit another dude.
or some would say that he's very much not that great of an actor. Let's go ahead and say, you know, it,
Listen, he wasn't bad as Adonis Creed
he
because that
wasn't
was also 2015 and he did well in that.
true, but it's also a specific type of stuff that you put him in, and he'll be all right in.
Exactly.
Some would argue for or against Killmonger, but it feels like he's also was playing Creed at that point, to an extent, of course. And also, if anybody has watched that Without Remorse, uh, Amazon Tom Clancy joint, oof,
Really? I haven't
it's
tried it yet.
I'm going to say it's not a terrible movie, but it's not great, and I feel
Okay.
like it was in service of something that didn't necessarily need to happen. I mean, didn't necessarily need to happen that way.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
And I also
You
understand. So
know, I've
uh,
been neck deep in my Dragon Ball binge, so I
right,
haven't had a chance to really check out much else other than like Bad Batch.
right, and apparently it's a part of a two film deal. Which,
Okay.
given what happens, and there, I will say this, so you, if you do happen to watch it, there is a mid credit scene.
Got it. Thanks for the tip.
Yep. That's all I'll say about that. So yeah, and that pretty much sets up the next movie.
Alrighty. Next up for you.
Yay! Speaking of Michael B. Jordan talks Black Panther 2. Let's see. He's oh, Michael B. Jordan has talked about Black Panther 2 and reacted to the reveal that the sequel will be officially titled Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Quote unquote, nice, a good ring to it. I like that. Okay. I think it's great. Marvel does great work, amazing work. Cut, like down this a little bit. He pretty much talks about Chadwick and Ryan Coogler, and basically says that if anybody can figure it out, it's Ryan Coogler and Kevin Feige, and their wonderful producers over there is going to figure out a way to do it. And on that note, next up,
So next up, as we've been saying, Black Panther 2 is going to further explore the world of Wakanda and its ensemble of characters. So more plot details about the movie have been shared as it gets ready to begin filming. So we have a first synopsis of the movie, which gives us an idea of what it's going to explore. Um, which is it's going to continue to explore the incomparable world of Wakanda, and it goes on to reiterate that the movie will focus on the characters that surrounded T'Challa in the first movie, giving all of the rich and varied characters introduced in the first film more to do in the sequel. The sequel is written and directed by Ryan Coogler, who is behind the first Black Panther.
so basically, sounds like it's going to be World of Wakanda, like people have speculated they should be doing,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool. Even though that series died way too soon, maybe they'll bring it back. Who knows? Next up, though, Black Panther's Lupita Nyong'o shared a funny Wakanda Forever video. Earlier this week, Marvel announced a bunch of release dates for the upcoming slates of movies. We talked about some of those last week, including Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which will serve as a follow up to the Black Panther. Duh. So, skip to one such actor in the movie will be Lupita Nyong'o, of course, returning as Nakia. And this week, Nyong'o took to Twitter to share a hilarious Wakanda Forever video, which is linked to this article, and I will not click on, although I love me some Lupita Nyong'o. It was kind of cute, actually. Yeah.
Gosh, what she do? It's helium based. Is that the joke?
I believe that is the case. Yes, if I remember. Yes, and also hashtag helium high. So yes. Next up.
So Marvel released 6 new character posters for Black Widow with the best look yet at the main cast. There's a poster for the villain Taskmaster, as well as Natasha's found family, played by Florence Pugh, Rachel Weisz, and David Harbour. You can check out the new posters on the website that is being shared by Roddykat. Interestingly enough, the actor's name is listed above the characters, except for Taskmaster.
Right. Although I'm kind of curious. So there is another poster of who is this? OT Fangbino?
Mm-hmm.
We know that's not the Taskmaster's name, but I'm like, who is this person?
I forget. We've seen in the synopses. I forget who that character is supposed to be.
Gotcha, but we definitely know Tony Masters is showing up, and the Taskmaster is showing up. So unless they're going to change his name, that would be kind of messed up.
It's not going to be Anthony, but Antonia.
Right, or I mean that could very well be the case because we don't know if the person is going to be male or female behind the thing, behind the suit, behind the armor. Also, which is the second time Rachel Weisz has shown up or has come up this past week, because I've been, and I may have said this last week, been wanting to watch The Mummy. So that's kind of weird. I don't know. Anyway, next up, Venom. Oh yeah, so there was a new Venom trailer this week, folks. Eddie Brock and his symbiote companion, oh Lord, not the Eminem Boys, are back and just as weird as before in the first trailer for Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Along with our hero, the teaser gives us our first look at Carnage, Venom's red symbiote counterpart, who's hellbent on causing chaos and destruction. If I'm not, you've seen Venom, right?
The first, the awful eating people, yeah.
So you basically, I think, was there like an end credit scene where Cletus Cassidy showed up or something? Yeah.
Correctamundo.
Yeah. So I haven't seen it, but I think I do remember somebody mentioning that. So yeah. Now apparently this trailer puts a little bit more light on Cletus, Woody Harrelson's Cletus Cassidy, who's basically Woody Harrelson, probably.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so you watched the trailer, right?
No, actually, didn't. Didn't care to.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, but no, I saw another article that pretty much said that there was a little bit more focus on his character.
Yeah.
So
definitely so. Like I said, it wasn't terrible. That's what it was.
Yeah, you know how I feel about this. I don't care about this.
Listen, I got shanghaied into watching the first movie in the theaters by my cousin's kids. They were just like, Uncle David, we want to see it. Come with us. I'm like, fine.
Yeah, and sure. And I'm probably, if my nephew was still of age, he'd have been like probably wanting to do that if he was around. Yeah. Although I'd have been like, no, let's see if we can bootleg this because we are not going to the theaters. Are you crazy? We're in a panorama. Next up, though.
Next up. Oh, so here's some news that I was disappointed to hear, but I understood because it seems like I was wrong when I told Roddykat the contrary, which is that Hulu's MODOK occupies its own dimension in Marvel's multiverse. So, unlike the Disney Plus shows, this is going to not be set in the MCU. Rather, MODOK co-showrunner Jordan Blum says it occupies its very own place in the Marvel multiverse, and he even got to pick its designation. So, he uses the Harley Quinn animated show as a good example of not being completely connected to the universe, and he actually has the designation as also the mainline films as well as all of the live action Disney Plus shows take place in the MCU designated as Earth 199999. And let's see, the Modoc. Oh my goodness, the Modoc show appeared. Oh, listen to this. So according to this article, Hulu's Runaways is actually set on Earth 199999. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 4. I'm just counting, y'all, because it could be 6 and I'll be off, right?
Right.
So it looks like Runaways is in the mainstream MCU. Hellstrom takes place, which I don't think either of us actually watched.
Nope.
Takes place on another Earth, and Modoc is set on Earth 1226, far away from the MCU. Okay.
Right, and shout out to Common and Sadat X.
Right.
Hip hop heads would probably catch that at some point. But yeah, I thought that was well. It was also cute because apparently this because he got to designate the multiverse, and it's a reference to his son's birthday. So that's kind of cute.
That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't. I don't think I recall whether the rest of the shows were in the same universe or not, or at least the Hulu stuff. Anyway,
right.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I still want to catch. I still want to do Runaways, and I guess this would give me a reason to get Hulu for this and Runaways.
I liked Runaways.
Yeah, I know you because I remember you saying about it, and I was like, yeah, I was kind of curious about that one. So maybe it's worth getting Hulu again for that. We'll see. Next up, Space Jam 2 has officially wrapped. Confirms animator. Industrial Light and Magic animation supervisor Kevin Martell has confirmed that post-production on the long-awaited Space Jam: A New Legacy has been completed. A follow-up to, you know what freaking this is. I don't know why they do that, but I know it's for people who probably don't know. I don't think there's anything else to say. So yeah, there's other people in the cast. We already kind of know who that is, and it's still on task to come out in July. So cool. Next up.
Alrighty, so next up, so a social media account for The Boys TV show teased fans for when they can expect an announcement, just an announcement of season 3's premiere date. The Boys' official Twitter account quote tweeted a post from the MTV Movie and TV Awards account. The response from the Boys page was a sarcastic "When is season 3?" and the crazy up and down cap and lowercase, uppercase and lowercase spelling, which mocks the show's fan base and their desire for the upcoming season.
Yay. I know you said you watched that.
I watched it. It's not bad. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I get around to it. I don't know. I feel like Invincible is kind of filling that hole, or it did fill that hole, even though that was,
it's a different hole.
It's definitely different.
It's different. Listen, it's definitely different. So I think it's worth watching, and because it's a limited series, because it's not that long, I think you can actually make your way through it relatively quickly.
Sure. Dragon Ball Super's new movie will feature an original story by, I believe, Akira Toriyama.
Yes. That is good news for someone who has been doing the canon watch.
Indeed. Dragon Ball Super Broly. Dragon Ball Super Broly brought the anime's run to an end a couple of years ago, and we talked about this before the show, so y'all were not privy to that conversation.
Right. It's still a movie I need to watch.
And I also just realized that I haven't been recording this whole freaking time. So that's awesome.
Oh no!
That's fine. I can get the audio from YouTube. I know I forgot something. Anyway, that's a little bit inside baseball, folks. Don't worry about it. So yeah, making matters tougher, Dragon Ball Super's manga has been taking the series story far beyond where the anime came to an end. Luckily, it won't be much longer until we see something new from the Dragon Ball Super anime, as the franchise will be returning with a brand new feature film next year. Announced during a special Goku Day celebration in Japan, Toei Animation has officially announced the next Dragon Ball Super movie will be releasing in 2022. Details are scarce about what this new movie will be about, but Toei Animation has confirmed via press release that the movie will feature an original story, as said, character designs, and even a screenplay straight from original series creator Akira Toriyama.
And that is good news
All the way
for the
around.
canon watchers.
Absolutely. So yeah, it'll be the second Dragon Ball Super film, because the first one was the aforementioned Dragon Ball Super Broly. And I don't know, sometimes I slip in to say Brawly, because that was when I first saw that, you would say Brawly all the time before being corrected on it.
Gotcha.
But sometimes we still slip into
I'm
it.
still so new at it. I wasn't sure. I mean, I've always heard Broly, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I wasn't sure if I was wrong.
Right. Yeah, I had never heard of it being said out loud until probably I saw the first Broly movie, and even then I was like, okay, I'm probably not gonna remember that.
Did you watch the Broly movie in sub or dub?
Dub.
Gotcha.
Because at that point, like we talked about, like I had been so used to the dub at that point, I was like, eh. I still haven't seen the rest of those old movies, although even though they're at this point, whatever canonized they may or may not be at this point. Yeah, you know, like because I hadn't seen Bio or it was Bio Brawling was another one, but regardless, and the one that I think Bio Brawling is the one that pretty much makes this one, well, that and going into Super makes these canon.
Gotcha.
As opposed to all those other ones who, yeah. I don't know if I showed you that video, but I'll show you after the thing. We'll talk about that afterwards. About whether the movies are canon or not.
Okay.
Yeah, remind me after the show. Anyway, next up though.
Next up, so in great news for former guest of the podcast of the Comic Book Chronicles, one Sanford Green, co-creator of Bitterroot, Oscar winner Regina King is set to direct Bitterroot adaptation of the Image comic series for Legendary. Legendary has closed a deal for Regina King to direct and produce the feature adaptation of Bitterroot, the acclaimed Image comic series created by David F. Walker and Sanford Green and indie veteran Chuck Brown. King will also produce with Regina King via their Royal Ties banner alongside Ryan Coogler, Zinzi Coogler, and Sev Ohanian of Proximity Media. Walker, Green, Brown, and Drapito Media's Sean Owolo will executive produce. Brian Edward Hill is currently rewriting the draft. That is another former guest of the Comic Book Chronicles. So we are keeping it in house.
Yeah, shout out to Sanford Green, hometown fella, to me anyway. And yeah, like the former guest of the show, and Brian Edward Hill. I still remember that one because that dude. That dude had some things to say.
He had a lot of things to say. He had a lot of things to say. And we definitely are remiss in not inviting him back because he was definitely ready to come back on the show at any time. Although he might be very busy at the moment with rewriting a draft of the script.
Well, that, and I think he might still be doing Titans and whatever else. Like, cause he's been definitely doing a lot of not cinematic work, but a lot of shows and whatnot, or a few shows. Because I think he was a part of Titans, and I think at that time he was either starting to or going to be working on Titans. I think it might have been working on Titans at the time, but regardless,
he was already, he was already, they had already done the first season.
Mm-hmm. So.
And I remember the conversation being like, "What? You never read the Wolfman Perez Titans?"
Right.
I definitely was. I'm pretty sure I was in shock to the point where I didn't know what else to say.
Right.
I was like, "Am I hanging up on this call now? What?"
No, it was I would have to fish that out from the archives because I'm pretty sure it's back there somewhere. But that one and the Sanford Green one, because that was also a trip. Because I think that was might have been right before. Was that before Bitterroot? No, it was before. I think that was before Iron Man and Iron Fist and Power Man and Iron Fist. Because he
Right.
couldn't say anything about that. I remember, and then like a couple of like a week or two later,
Correct.
it was
Correct.
announced.
Correct.
So, but definitely, if you haven't had a chance to read Bitterroot, you definitely should, if you are so inclined.
Lucky, yeah, I was about to add. No, we've been lucky to have developed a good relationship with Sanford Green. Back when we could actually go to comic book conventions.
Yeah.
He made it up to New York often, and I made it a point of saying hello. So
Right.
we definitely have, even though he hasn't been a guest in a while, we definitely have kept in touch with him and maintained a relationship. So
Right.
hats off to him. Very happy for him.
Right, and I would see him at Heroes Con, which is the closest, the big closest con to me, and I would definitely go holler at his table and get some stuff and talk to him for a second, at the very least a second. And I think he's still teaching over at Benedict, which is a local college here, or local HBCU college here. I believe he still is.
I think so.
Yeah. So shout out to all of them. Anyway, next up.
This is you.
Yes, it is. We should try to get David F. Walker on the show because he would be dope to talk to. But I know they're all busy at this point, as you said. Anyway, Fast and Furious 9's magnet plane stunt was dreamed up by a 9-year-old, folks.
Because of course it was.
Yeah. And as
Because
I said,
of course it was.
right. And as I said on Discord, that would make a whole lot of sense for pretty much half of the series. Anyway, Fast and Furious 9 director Justin Lin has revealed that his young son came up with the idea for the upcoming movie's hilariously outlandish magnet plane stunt. Seen in the first F9 trailer, the magnet plane scene is clearly being billed as one of the movie's showpiece stunts, with a car flying off of the cliff being picked up in midair by a plane equipped with a gigantic magnet. In an interview with Empire, Lin says that the stunt came into being when he brought his 8 or 9-year-old son, Okwe, to a meeting in London. Which is, I know this is a thing people mostly never ever do, or rarely ever do, but, I guess shout out to, for whatever reason, got him into doing that. Let's see, quote unquote. We were talking about the ravine set piece, and I said, all right, so here's Roman and Tej. Jacob needs to be on the side. How does he get there? And Okwe just picked it up and pitched the idea of the plane and everything. After us spending hundreds of hours of planning, I guess he was paying attention and he understood the characters. Because it definitely takes a whole lot to understand the characters of the Fast and Furious movie. Okay. All right.
I mean,
I love the series. You know I do. And you do too. Well, I know this, but I'm just saying.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Exactly. Next up.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, this is going to be something. Next up.
All right. So apparently you need to grab your knee pads and bike helmet as the CW is bringing back Legends of the Hidden Temple, but for adult competitors this time. So if you missed out on getting to play as a kid, you're in luck. The rules look to be the same as you're part of a team trying to solve a mystery and find the treasure, getting help and clues from the mysterious entity Olmec. So it is a show, and while the rules and teams remain the same, the entire show is going to be taken out of the studio into a man-made jungle and scaled up with tougher challenges, but with much bigger prizes on the line. Okay.
So this has nothing to do with any kind of comic book related, but I thought this was fun, and for those who are of a certain vintage who know of that show, and I know some people who are, because people were kind of excited.
Really, you know what the standard response is when I kind of nod my head and
yes.
Who?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And apparently there was or is a Legend of the Hidden Temple movie. Okay, great. Next up. Wait, is this me? This is you.
No, you. This is you. I did the Hidden Temple.
Okay, I'm lost. I know. Masters of the Universe Revelation debuts first look. So Netflix, and I'm going to assume that it was supposed to be Kevin Smith that they neglected to put editing, folks. Editing goes a long way in these articles. I know you're trying to get stuff out fast, but calm down. But anyway, Netflix and let's say Kevin Smith has debuted the first look of the new Masters of the Universe Revelation original animated series. As a part of Netflix's greater expansion into the animation has come a string of original projects produced through studios like Powerhouse Animation. That feels like a very tortured sentence. Or maybe I read that wrong. I don't know. I'm going to say it's tortured. Following in the footsteps of series such as Castlevania Blood of Zeus and Sex Manus. By the way, Castlevania Season 4 is out, I believe, at this point. You should go check it out if you're so inclined. I cannot wait to watch it. Let's see. Masters of the Universe Revelation will be showing off a much different version of the He-Man mythos than fans might have ever expected. And making things more enticing is the fact that Kevin Smith serves as showrunner for this big update. This is the article's writing, not mine. Following Smith's teasing earlier this month that we would see. Okay, I'm not gonna read this anymore. This article is rife. But basically, yeah, you can see pictures of shots of the characters in this article if you are so inclined. This actually kind of looks like that what was that last reboot they did? I don't know if you remember it or not. Like the art style kind of sort of looks like that to a point. But I don't know. Either way.
Oh, you mean the last reboot of Masters? I gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Although unlike that one, yeah, like Adam's kind of small and they didn't keep and you know, in this case He-Man is kind of as bulky as you would think should be, as opposed to that particular version. But anyway, we are going to go into the comic book news.
We're transitioning over, folks.
Meanwhile, the Hall of Justice.
Lego Star Wars The Bad Batch Attack Shuttle is up for pre-order. The set releases on August 1st. It is comprised of 969 pieces. And has a list price of $100, $99.99. And if you go to the show notes, and if you are so inclined, you can check out shots, pictures from said set. So cool. Next up.
Okay, so Star Wars: The Old Republic recently released its 6.3 update, The Dark Descent, and it's an excellent addition that adds some longevity to the expansive game, adding in a new Flashpoint, which continues the ongoing narrative, a new player versus player season, and a new Galactic season system that offers rewards based on weekly and daily challenge completions. The Dark Descent gives players even more reason to enjoy Star Wars: The Old Republic. Okay.
I've been debating about going back to that MMO because I hadn't played in so long. I almost did for Star Wars Day, but it didn't happen. Did we talk about Suicide rating? I think we did, didn't we? Whether it got an R rating?
No, we didn't.
Okay, well, guess what? Suicide Squad lands the R rating for its graphic nudity and gore, so that way we don't have to talk about it next week. Next up, though, a first look at Rock Love's, not to be confused with, well, never mind. No one would get that joke except for maybe one or two people in the chat. First look at Rock Love's new Doctor Strange collection. In an exclusive reveal with IGN, Rock Love has announced their newest Marvel collection, Doctor Strange. The collaboration with Marvel consists of 4 pieces with accurate representation from Doctor Strange in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Speaking with IGN, Rock Love CEO and designer Alyssa Wong shared the historical and modern inspiration for the newest collection, how it differs from past Marvel collaborations, and what they have in the works for future Marvel pieces. So if you're watching the video, you can check out the pieces here, which includes a spell spangle, spell hoop earrings, rotating spell medium, and a spell spinner ring, which I guess is supposed to be the sling ring.
Right.
Which doesn't necessarily look like the sling ring. But hey,
I
cool.
wonder if this is going to be something that's developed for the next movie.
Maybe, possibly. Who knows? I do not believe This article says as much, but we'll find out.
Well, yeah, I was about to say because obviously a lot of this stuff is based on, because Rock Love definitely has a history of doing jewelry that's based on stuff from the Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing that's not a new concept for them, but it's interesting to see that that Marvel has allowed, and the lady behind Rock Love is Alison Semino. She's super cool. I've met her before.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah, no, she's a presence at New York Comic Con, and for a time she was personally sending out a lot of the products. So, whatchamacallit. So, and she's very and I think this was before their production really started to scale up. If you recall, I ordered 2 sets of the Komoyo beads. I ordered the metal ones.
Yes.
I gave those at cost to, I didn't sell them. I just, I gave them at cost to my buddy, Dr. Martin Luther Strange, and bought the glass beads for myself because they came in extra large. So,
right.
And they're a little lighter, but the metal ones are obviously, they don't have like paint that rubs off. The metal ones are really cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't get on that one when those were around. So, which it may or may not be, I don't know, but I don't think so because I think they were like a limited thing. Either way, next up.
You got me curious now because now I want to look up on Rock Love to see what's available.
Yeah, no, right.
So as I look for that, the next story is Chip Zdarsky is writing the Hulk this fall, but is there more to that? He's writing the upcoming Avengers Hulk Free Comic Book Day one-shot, and that is raising the question of whether or not he's going to take over Marvel's Hulk title after the Immortal Hulk run ends at issue number 50. So, this is all speculation at this point, but it does raise questions to think about.
Zdarsky coming from artist to writer to, and I hear, I think you've spoken about his Daredevil run.
Yeah. Yeah, and his Spider-Man run too was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that wasn't bad. So yeah, go for it. The Captain America of the Kickapoo tribe is Marvel's latest addition to the Cap Pantheon. Excuse me. Marvel Comics has revealed the third of what will be 5 new local Captain Americas that will debut during the upcoming monthly 5-issue limited series, The United States of Captain America, which celebrates the character's 80th anniversary. Joe Gomez, the Captain America of the Kickapoo tribe, will debut in a backup story by geoscientist and I apologize for this, Lipan Apache writer Darcy Littlebadger and Kwalipu Meekwam. I'm sorry, I do not mean to be butchering people's names. First, let's see, David Cutler also is doing the artistry in August's the United States of Captain America #3. So it says here's a quote. Something I love about Joe is his day job. It represents everything he stands for as a hero, Little Badger explains in the Marvel announcement. See, Joe Gomez is a construction worker, a builder in a world plagued by destruction. And every time a spaceship crashes into a bridge or a supervillain transforms a whole city block into rubble, people like Joe makes things whole again. Part of me wants to mention damage control in here, but I don't think that's probably going to be the case here. So, cool. Next up.
Ooh, those official Rock Love glass Komoyo beads are super expensive on the Amazon secondary market. They are not offered by Rock Love anymore. So then that makes sense. It's been a while since the Black Panther movie.
Right. And they ran it. They probably ran them when that did happen because they know people are going to want them.
That's crazy.
But yeah, next up though.
I'm glad I have mine.
Yeah.
Although I definitely regret not buying a second metal set.
I kind of wish I had gotten in on it, but at the time things were things. So
no, of course. But I like the metal set. I got the metal set, and I was like, you know what? It's a little on the tight side
Mm-hmm.
because it only came in small, medium, and large, and they didn't come out with extra large until after. And I regret not buying the extra large for
Mm-hmm.
myself in metal. I bought the extra large glass, which is still cool. I still have it on my desk. I wear it from time to time. Sometimes you'll see me on the show wear it. Um, but I regret not getting the metal in extra large. So anyway, um, next up, so you did the Kickapoo Tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Death and Return of Superman creator comes to Marvel for Heroes Reborn and to kill Sam Wilson. Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
Acclaimed writer-artist Dan Jurgens returns to Marvel Comics as the penciler of Heroes Reborn, Marvel Double Action #1, which delves into the past of the Heroes Reborn timeline in which the Avengers never formed and the Squadron Supreme are Earth's mightiest heroes. Okay.
So hear me grouse about that when that happens, even though I know it's not going to be a thing that sticks.
Exactly.
John Romita Jr.'s Marvel return also brings back the Trial of Magneto. Artist John Romita Jr.'s recently announced return to Marvel Comics also apparently includes a return to one of the stories that helped launch his career with the publisher, The Trial of Magneto. Marvel has released a teaser featuring art from Romita, promising the trial that threatens to divide mutant kind, launching in August with the title The Trial of Magneto. It's unclear what the Master of Magnetism, who is one of the founders of Krakoa and currently serves on the Quiet Council, may do to earn a trial. Honestly, given how they've set this up, it won't take much.
Exactly.
But Krakoa only has a few laws, and one of them is don't kill humans. With a bunch of humans, including some famous ones, coming to Krakoa in June's Hellfire Gala crossover, that could spell disaster. And I do believe the next story is probably going to may bear out a little bit more into some possibilities going into that. So next up, so Klaus Janson has signed on to illustrate a portion of Marvel Comics' Marauders #22, which is part of the Hellfire Gala, or at least the post-Hellfire Gala. So Janson will be joining series writer Jerry Duggan and artist Matteo Loli in what will be the series' very first issue post-Hellfire Gala. The Hellfire Gala may be over, but the flames of Hellfire past come licking at the heels of the Inner Circle, which is part of Marvel's description for Marauders #22. Cool. Yay, cool. Yeah. Boop. Marvel introduces a new character, but are they hero or villain? So Marvel has revealed promo art for its newest character, Somnus. Illustrated by Luciano Vecchio. The mysterious character has a silver and black outfit with a cape that appears to be made out of stars. Who was Somnus? The promo art reads, hinting at a secret history for the character. Though Somnus's affiliation and powers remain a secret, a hint to his history may be in his name. And this article kind of goes into the Roman mythology behind that and the fact that Somnus may or may not have ties to two Marvel series, which is the Marvels, which is Kurt Busiek's current run, and Marvel Voices Pride, which he's going to also show up. So, okay, cool. Next.
All right, Marvel Comics has been gearing up for the June 9th debut of Marvel Studios' Loki on Disney Plus, with various collections on sale now or soon. But in early May, the publisher Rush solicited a new one, from a very specific time in the God of Mischief's life that could be a hint at what's to come in the television series. So, several Loki-centric issues from J. Michael Straczynski and Olivier Coipel's Thor run are being collected in a new collected edition titled Loki, Mistress of Mischief. These issues have been reprinted before in various Thor volumes, but this is the first time they're being pulled together in a single collection for those looking for Loki.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is also coming off of Secret Wars, because I'm almost fairly certain, unless female Loki has come up before
Oh, that
that.
was before.
Was it?
Before.
Okay, because I was thinking.
Female was introduced before Secret Wars, and then they brought her back.
Okay, so that part I wasn't sure about, but I'm wondering if they're gonna put some of that in there. I kind of doubt it, but because and also leading into A-Force around that time, because I think I'm trying to remember if the A-Force series that after Secret Wars also had female Loki. So maybe some of that's going to be there, but this article doesn't necessarily say. So, and I think there's one out this week actually. There, I mean, there may be some sort of Thor thing out this week that I thought I saw when I was looking at looking through Comixology, but I'm not going to look through that right now. So, Star Wars Celebration 2022 will now take place in May. And apparently, so yeah, Star Wars Celebration will now return sooner as expected. Although the next big Star Wars fan event isn't scheduled to happen until 2022, the convention organizers have announced it is moving the dates forward from August to May. So yeah, it's usually around Labor Day weekend, to May. The next Star Wars Celebration was set to take place around August. It's like a week before, something like August 18th to 21. But the Anaheim-based event has announced that it can't wait to get fans together again and will now host the event from May 26th to the 29th. That is 2022, not this year. These new dates will provide fans with more incredible offerings to enjoy at Star Wars Celebration. The organizers wrote on their official website. Also, I'm pretty sure these organizers are probably losing money because of pandemics. I'm pretty sure that's probably another reason why they pushed this up. I'm trying to remember. There was another Star Wars convention. I think D. The D is the official one. Oh, this is the fan one. Celebration is the fan one. D, I think, is like the Disney one. And I don't think there's been any words on whether they're moving that one or not. And I can't remember when that one even comes up. So it doesn't matter. Next up,
Okay. Celebrated author Alyssa Wong is working on a secret project with DC. Many comic fans will recognize Wong as the current writer of Star Wars Dr. Aphra, the current comic book series, and the recent Legend of Shang-Chi one-shot. It's unclear what Wong's secret DC project is. However, she's working with the Batman editorial group, specifically editor Jessica Chen, who oversaw Wong's Grace Choi short story, Family Dinner, in this week's DC Festival of Heroes, the Asian superhero celebration, drawn by Sean Chen and Norm Rapmund. Okay.
what are the odds for Cassandra Cain?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know. I wonder if it's a Grace Choi story, considering that that technically would probably fall under the Bat office also, because that's a Black Lightning related character.
Yeah. That is also true. That's a good point. Or maybe it could be Katana. We don't know.
Could be.
But this was pretty much a so 8 to 7 is pretty much already talked about this book, so we don't necessarily have to go into it. The DC Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration is out, as Agent 70 spoke about earlier. It's $10 or cheaper if you get it from Comixology and you're a part of Comixology Unlimited, but it is out there. So if anything Agent 70 said about it moved you thusly, then you can go check it out. Next.
Or you can pick up Silk and celebrate AAPI Heritage Month just the same.
You're right. You're right. Very much.
The Batman of Gotham City's Narrows, Clown Hunter, is getting his own solo spotlight this August. Writer Ed Brisson and artist Rosie Campe are working together on Batman Secret Files Clown Hunter, the third in this new ongoing series of Batman Secret Files one-shots from DC. Okay.
Still don't know why this character and Punchline exist, but I don't read Batman books. It doesn't matter. Badge registration date announced for Gen Con 2021. So Gen Con, which is pretty much the board game, the big board game convention. announced the dates for badge registration for Gen Con 2021 and that there will be a trade day sponsored by the Alliance Game Distributors. The new date for the badge registration will be May 23rd, which was postponed from earlier this year. Attendance is capped capped this year due to COVID, obviously, and potential attendees can attempt purchase of a limited number of 4-day badges. These badges are likely to sell out quick because, space is limited. There will also be a trade day at Gen Con this year. Alliance Game Distributors will provide a modified schedule and content tracks. And Gen Con will have a limited quantity of trade day badges that will be available on the 23rd for educators, librarians, and retailers. Attendees with rolled over 2020 badges will be contacted with additional information. So sound out they may let those folks keep their badges from last year that they didn't get to use. So one of these years I want to go to Gen Con because it's a big joker, and even though that's kind of a far ways to go, and I know of a couple of people that go there for that, I would probably not see them, but still I would be curious to check that out. Doesn't Matt Wayne go to Gen Con?
I think so.
Yeah, I know he's a big enthusiast.
Yes, definitely.
Shout out to Matt Wayne.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if at Matt Wayne 97 is going to be traveling there this year.
Right.
I mean, yeah, for this year, but we'll see.
Yeah. Next up,
former WWE Tag Team Champions The New Day is returning to comic books in a new limited series produced in partnership with Boom Studios and WWE. Boom has released the first preview of interior pages from the series. WWE The New Day Power of Positivity is a 2-issue limited series launching in July, featuring Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods. The series is written by Evan Narcisse and Austin Walker and illustrated by artist Daniel Bayliss. As a quick note, the fan favorite trio has held 11 tag team championships in WWE, including the longest reign ever, 483 days. Okay.
so this is actually slightly cool because I really don't care about the wrestling part of this angle, and I do know about the New Day, so I guess cool for them with that. Evan Narcisse, also former game journalist. He may still do some here and there, I think, now that I think about it. But he also wrote Rise of the Black Panther, a miniseries back in 2018. And I think he wrote something for Marvel Voices. And Austin Walker, also current editor-in-chief of Vice Gaming. He's a writer, so that's actually cool for him because I know of him from the gaming spaces. So that's actually pretty cool on that case. Normally you would hear me grouse about stuff like that because like, oh yeah, here's another, but no, this is actually kind of cool. And I know also also big wrestling fans, both of them, if I'm not mistaken. I know one of them for certain. Next up though, and some sad news. Comics writer, artist, and essayist Jesse Ham has died. Jesse Ham, whose tips from Jesse Ham's Twitter account helped thousands of burgeoning comic book creators, passed away on Wednesday, which is weird because I remember seeing. Wait, what?
You know what's funny?
What's that?
I want to add a quick story. Whatchamacallit to the end of the news.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I've seen this account because I have a account where I follow comic creators, or I have a list of where I follow comic creators, and Jesse Ham will come up with quite a lot. So that's kind of sad, and obviously recently. Let's see. His wife Anna Sarling Ham broke the tragic news on her Twitter account that Ham had passed away due to a blood clot in his lungs. Oof. Ham was a member of the Portland-based Helioscope Studio. So apparently, and the rest of the article goes into his comic book works. So, condolences to his family and friends. And I don't think I've ever seen him. And apparently, here's a picture of him because I've never seen him before. It also works note. It says that and I think somebody else has said this. His Gumroad, he would do Twitter. I mean, he would do basically comic book advice on his or tips on his Gumroad account, and you can still, if you want to support the family, you know, because of burial costs and all that kind of a good mess, you can still do that because that site is still up. And you can go to the article in the show notes to check that out. Next up.
One moment as I do a little bit of editing to our show notes.
Okay.
Okay. Newspaper strips celebrated No Pants Day. Instead of giving people the shirt off their back, several comic strips encouraged people to take off their trousers and donate to charity. 29 strips highlighted No Pants Day the first Friday in May. The event began as a lark by college students at the University of Texas, but the comics purveyors found a way to make it more meaningful, as reported by the Associated Press. T. Fournier, the comics editor at King Features Syndicate, said this is a great way to help bring communities together, but also have a little bit of a laugh. Just the idea of No Pants Day, I think, is something that everybody can feel a little bit closer to this year than in previous years. So what is this exactly? I guess the characters are going without pants in the strips.
Yes. And that happened last Friday, not this. So we kind of slightly missed that, but hey, that's kind of cute. I'm pretty sure they in the archives of was it Go Comics or whatever it is, that they probably still have those strips that are there from those days. So that's cool. One last piece of note that the piece of news that Agent 70 put in here. You want to go ahead and do this, or you want me to do it?
It's your turn. I'm not going to go out of turn. Go ahead.
Okay. In honor of Asian Pacific American, and I kind of figured this was going to happen, being the case, but Marvel Comics is proud to announce that this summer we'll see the launch of a brand new Marvel's Voices one-shot spotlighting some of the most legendary Asian superheroes. Marvel's Voices Identity #1 is the issue in question. This thrilling issue will take readers across the Marvel Universe with a collection of tales written and drawn by new and established Asian creators. Following in the footsteps of the mega popular Marvel's Voices in Digital Voices and Marvel's Voices Legacy and the upcoming, I'm just going to add Marvel's Voices Pride. Marvel Voices Identity #1 will continue the tradition of featuring inspiring and uplifting storytelling that truly reflect the world outside your window, quote unquote. These new stories will celebrate Marvel's ongoing, ever-expanding representation of the vastness of all Asian American, and specific island cultures and identities, including South Korea, Chinese, and more. The giant-sized one-shot will be packed with action-packed stories told in the mighty Marvel manner. Eisner Award winner Gene Luen Yang continues his groundbreaking work on Shang-Chi, Mythos, and an all-new tale with artist Marcus Toe. Also, there's a Generation X story by Christina Strain and artist Jason Liu, who catch up with everyone's favorite mutant mall rat Jubilee. Greg Pak takes secret agent Jimmy Woo on another hair-raising mission that will mark the Marvel debut of artist Kreese Lee.
I actually know Kreese Lee.
Oh, do you?
He's New York based. You know, he was a student. He was a student at, I believe, SVA, the School of Visual Arts.
Oh, cool.
Like within the last 6 or 7 years. So I've seen him really develop as an artist over that time.
Oh, cool. Also new to Marvel, artist Lin Yoshi joins critically acclaimed Maureen Gu to weave another unpredictable adventure in the saga of Silk. Plus an amazing tale starring Miss Marvel, that would be Kamala Khan, drawn by Mashal Ahmed, and a bonus surprise story that will be announced at a later date. And right. I believe what is being shown is the cover for this book. So cool.
Right. So this is a counterpoint to the DC book, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But where DC wins, and it's one of the few times that DC wins, is that they got their book out during AAPI Heritage Month.
Right.
Right. So this is just being announced during AAPI Heritage Month. So that's a little bit of a loss on Marvel's part when you look at it in that regard. But as I said earlier, the worst part about the DC book is that it basically highlights so many of these minor characters that really have not had too much done with them. But then you look at the cover of the Marvel Voices book.
Mm-hmm.
3 out of the 4 have had solo titles.
Right. And one of those people on this book, was on the cover of another Marvel Voices book, which had nothing, which had little to do with her.
Exactly. But then you've got Jimmy Woo, who's all of a sudden become a fan favorite character in the MCU, so you know why he's being included.
Yep.
And it just goes to show that the even though there is room for a great amount of room for improvement, there at least is some representation of Asian identity at Marvel, as opposed to these literal background characters over at DC. Those are definite shots fired, folks. At DC.
Hashtag DC stays losing.
Exactly. I mean, all you have to do is look at this cover. It's like, wait, like literally, one of these characters has a movie coming out. One of these characters has a TV show coming out. One of them has a prominent guest role in several Marvel projects, and the other two are probably in the wings, waiting to happen.
I believe there is a Silk show there. I feel like we talked about a Silk show that is that they're trying to get.
Exactly, but that's what I mean by waiting to happen.
Right.
Because we know Jimmy Woo already exists in the MCU. We know Shang-Chi already exists. Shang-Chi already exists in the MCU. We're just waiting for it to be released.
Right.
Same thing with Ms. Marvel.
Right. Jubilee, whether when and or if ever, however, the X-Men end up showing up in the MCU properly, may see her.
Exactly. She has been introduced in the Fox X-Men movies, though, even if for a brief moment.
The briefest of moments, especially her and that Psylocke. For the briefest of moments, yes. So yeah, there you go, folks. Like I said, we kind of figured this was probably going to happen. So, and there you go. And that is the end of the news section, and also in the end of the show. But I wanted to call attention to this one little tweet real quick. Excuse me. That somebody, I wish I had time to blur that out, but sorry about that. So there's a tweet from Twitter that says CDC says vaccinated people can stop wearing masks. Everyone with more than and then everyone with more than 3 brain cells say. And then it's a link to a picture, which is basically an image from what's that, Captain America, Civil War? I mean, Winter Soldier, I believe, which has Nick Fury saying, "I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid ass decision, I would elected to ignore it."
Yes. No, that's from Avengers.
Was it from Avengers?
That was from Avengers. That was from Avengers because the stupid ass decision was dropping a nuke on New York.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Sure. All right. Bet. But yes, nevertheless, that is what that's from, and I'm inclined to agree with this. I'm like, look, folks, even if you're vaccinated, wear your masks. You can still get it. You can still get COVID even if you're vaccinated. Your chances are lessened.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, and unfortunately, you can still spread it.
And that's exactly the kicker. And we still don't know how long these vaccinations are supposed to last, because they're saying up to 6 months. There's still been no real confirmation on,
because data is still being collected.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line. Data is still being collected on this.
So don't be stupid. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Wash your masks. Wash your face before and after you wear your masks. Wash those masks more than once every month. Don't care if they have filters in them. Wash them just weekly if you got to. Or have
after every use. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, that too. Well, I mean, unless you have the disposable, you can kind of double up that way. But or you have multiples of it. You can go through a couple of them before you wash them, which you should at this point have multiple masks. That should go without saying. But that being said, like I said, we are at the end of this here fine program, and we have one more ad read.
And we've been going a little long, folks, so you know what we're reading. It is Keep Our Podcast Free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, etc. Or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN payment. That helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
Hoo-ha. And thank you, Boop. Each and every one of you fine folks for coming out, whether it was live and and while we're recording, or after the fact, watching the video or the audio, or listening to the audio after the fact, which not that I forgot to put that out there earlier, but we're going to do that right now. When I say I have been Roddykat, you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerd on Twitter. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram. You can find Agent_70 right there at Twitter and Instagram. I don't know. We might be able to coax Agent 7 into getting some more stuff, maybe in a blog or something, or maybe we'll bring back the Kliq Nation and both of us start writing on it again. Who knows?
Exactly.
Or something around about. PCN_dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and all those umbrella sites they're in. You can also, I assume, still find him on Byte, BYTE, which is the Vine replacement. I know everybody's going to TikTok now, but under comic reviews, no vowels. If I find out Dirt's on TikTok, I don't know
right?
I don't know what to do with myself on that one. Tim DOGG98, the Osiris of this ish. You can find him at Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. You can find him at CB Chron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at The Kliq Nation on Twitter. That's TheKliqNation, all one word, on Twitter. You can also find him at Comic Book Resources, CBR.com, where he's over there writing his face off. And not that god awful movie. Yeah, I said it. At me. I don't care. Mission Impossible 2 was a way better Hollywood John Woo movie. Don't you forget it. Anyway, you can find you can find this here podcast on the Coast of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
But honestly, if you're going to watch John Woo movies, The Killer, Better Tomorrow, anyone to go back to the little age joints with Chow Yun Fat and all them jokers, way better stuff. You will not be mad at it, and if you are, you don't have any taste. Anyway, you can also find this here podcast on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coast of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can join us here every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. on either the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation, that's youtube.com/TheKliqNation, or twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, like some lovely folks that I know did tonight, and thank you. And as always, like I said, the video will be archived on both of those places, and of course, linked to on CSPN.us and all that kind of good jazz, just in case. Audio version should be out about Sunday-ish on the normal. I'm not sure why, but yeah, there you go. So you can have something to end of your weekend with us. Still no Loki because we still got another few weeks for that, probably about a month at this point. So and Invincibles over with. So you know what? It's just gonna be regular shows. From not that saying that it wouldn't be regular shows anyway, but it's gonna be regular shows
for a little while.
Yes, and not the animated show called Regular Show, even though it's a good show. But with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Good evening, Rick.
Would you believe